Hey everyone, today is Thursday, the 8th of October 2020. This is The Gap, episode 537. I'm Luke Lawrie. Joab Gilroy is also here. How you going, Joab? How's your daylight savings going? We're kicking off early.
Bit weird.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, I suppose we are early. I don't know. Like, time doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
I've been watching Schitt's Creek, right? And have you watched it? I like it.
It's on the list.
You know, it's weird. It's an odd show. Like, everyone loves it, right? And I think I get why, because it's just optimistic. You know, like in other sitcoms, you'd have like some drama points, and it sort of runs towards these drama points, like these classic setups, like, you know, someone said something and one of the other characters heard something different. Right. And in another sitcom, this would be like, it might even be like a couple of episodes. Like in Scrubs, it might be like fucking 3 episodes where Dr. Cox is like, oh, now I hate JD or some shit. Right. But in Schitt's Creek, right, not only do they resolve it within that same episode, but they resolve it in a positive way. They'll be like, oh, you meant this? Oh, well, yeah. I'm sorry that I assumed the worst of you. And you're like, wow, that's really nice. There's nothing about Schitt's Creek that's sort of like, I think I'm very used to, you know, obviously a lot of the comedy that I like, being a cynical fuckhole myself, a lot of the comedy that I like is, you know, cynical. But it's nice to watch a comedy that isn't cynical at all. It's just sort of nice and also genuinely funny a lot of the time. So yeah, like, I don't know, it's just nice. Anyway, my point is, right, that show has no concept of the passage of time. And if it was any other time, they'll be like, oh, yeah, this happened last night. And when, like, if you were to go back a single scene when this occurred, right, it would be fucking noon, right? You could see based on the shadows that it's fucking noon. But they'll be like, yeah, this happened last night. And you're like, it didn't happen unless the fucking sun works different on this fucking alternate reality. Then it didn't happen at last night. Unless night is day and day is night in Schitt's Creek, then it didn't happen last night, and it kills me, right? And if it was any other year than 2020, then this would bug me a lot more than just a passing observation. But because I've got no fucking idea, my wife woke up this morning and looked at me, and she looked so sad, and she's like, "I was sure it was Saturday." I'm like, "We've got so much further to go." It's not even Friday. Like, good Lord. Yeah. Time doesn't mean anything anymore. So daylight savings, no daylight. I don't give a fuck, right? Like, just whatever my fuck clock says it is, what the time is. If it said it was nighttime and I was living in Schitt's Creek, I'd be like, yeah, fucking fair enough. Even though the sun is directly east of me right now, trying to blind me. I've got like half a curtain, just barely doing any fucking work at all. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Whatever. My clock. Why would my clock lie to me? I've got no, I can't prove it wrong. It's not like I was watching the seconds hand tick by, right? If it just suddenly switched from fucking 0923 to 2123, I'd be like, yeah, must be fucking 9 o'clock. Better go to bed in half an hour. So I always go to bed at 10 o'clock. That's what I do. And then I wake up fucking 4 or some shit. It's fucking, whatever. I don't give a fuck anymore.
I went to bed last night at 10 o'clock. I don't
look out.
Usually go to bed that way. I was pretty tired.
No, you don't. Yeah.
And then I got up at like 10:30. Like, I slept the whole way through. It was. It was good.
You mean like 10:30 the next day?
Yeah.
Wow. Good Lord. And that'll tide you over for the next 6 months, right? Like, you won't need to sleep now. Yeah. You go back to your regular scheduled no sleep schedule. I just said schedule and schedule in one sentence.
There you go.
We're giving up on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
what is
it? Just like fucking whatever.
Next will be
whatever.
GIF and GIF.
No, it will never be GIF and GIF. Okay, it will always be GIF. I'll fucking go to my grave on this one.
Okay.
Hey, must be time for our newest segment.
Mm.
Spaghetti watch. Where's my fucking spaghetti Skittles, Luke? Where's my fucking spaghetti Skittles?
I told you, you lost
Where
the
are
bet. You lost it.
Get the fuck. You didn't lose the bet. Now you're changing it again. Holy shit. You've lived in America for like 1 year. How are you always already taking
Fake
on
news.
all of their fucking
Fake
mannerisms to just to just fucking declare things to be completely different to how they are? This is insane. Where's my spaghetti Skittles? Like, where
It's
are
coming.
they? Where are they? Where are they?
They're under investigation at the moment, so as soon as it's done, I will eat the spaghetti Skittles.
Unbelievable. Anyway,
But also it's fake.
what else is
Fake
going
news.
on?
I watched Pretending I'm Superman, the Tony Hawk video game story. So
Yeah.
I had like a spare hour or so the other night after watching what were we watching? The Challenger documentary on Netflix.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I had to wrap that one up and kind of looking for TV shows. So I think next up might be Fargo or isn't something starting next week?
I don't know.
Thought something starting
Hill
next
House.
week. That could be it. Because The Boys finishes this week and Fargo's just kicked off. So probably, but I think Fargo is one of those, it's like a week to week as well. So
Right.
I don't know. Do you watch Fargo at all?
I haven't watched. I watched the film and then I watched. Huh?
You don't need to watch the film.
I have watched the film.
Okay.
And then I watched like 2 episodes. Did we talk about this or did I talk about someone else? I watched like 2 episodes and I didn't like Martin Freeman in William H. Macy's role.
Right.
And I'm like, no. I'm not going to keep going with this. I understand that it completely departs from the film after the second season or some shit, but I just didn't like Martin Freeman. I'm like I like Martin Freeman in a lot of things. I just didn't like him in this. It was like, you know how fucking him and Benedict Cumberbatch, they have the same fucking vocal coach for American accents. That's what it is. And whoever that is the fucking worst. Yeah. No, Hugh Laurie actually, like, by the end of House, convincing accent. A convincing accent. But, yeah. No. Oh, my God.
All right. Fargo is very good. You should definitely watch it. There's
I'll
one
give it
season
another
that's
try.
a bit... I think...
Right.
Which one was it? It could have been the third season, I think it was. But the others are pretty good. I've enjoyed it. And then I actually never saw the movie, so I went and watched it and quite enjoyed the movie as well. So, anyway, so basically looking for TV series at this stage, and had an hour to spare. So yeah, watched the Pretending I'm Superman documentary, which is about the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater video game, which you recommended a couple weeks back. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was very good. Not the best video game documentaries that I've watched, but it's still good. Like it spends quite a lot of time on the sort of history of skateboarding, like the first, like, you know, during the like 80s and 90s, and how sort of skateboarding was in this massive decline, and it interviews a lot of prominent figures in the skateboarding scene around then, and you know it's about them talking about how it was just sort of they weren't making any money and they were trying to reinvent the sport and just trying to basically live and get by. And then it wasn't until Tony Hawk sort of went around and tried to pitch a skateboarding video game to a bunch of publishers and was told, like, this will never work, you'll never, that like nobody wants to play these types of games, and then eventually sort of teamed up with Activision, who were working on a skateboarding game, and then the two sort of combined and ended up creating one of the most popular sort of video games in the
one of the most iconic
late 90s
games ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is something I talked about a couple weeks ago, whereas like if it wasn't for the Tony Hawk video game, a lot of people wouldn't know who Tony Hawk was, or like even that massive boom that came to skateboarding, because it just like ignited that
Yeah.
that scene. And this documentary just goes into that, like how much it influenced his career and skateboarding in general. And it's just all these pro skaters talking about like skateboarding was dead, but after that game it just kicked off and it went stupid. And then it looks into the history of your favorite genre, like ska music, and how
Right.
band
Tony Hawk might be responsible for ska.
yeah,
For the ska explosion.
right.
Fuck, I got into it. I got into it with my brother about ska music.
Mm.
It just wound me up more. How? Oh my god! How did it become popular? It must be just one of those fucking collective mass hysteria events. It drives me bananas. Anyway, why is it called punk? It's called ska punk. What's punk about it? What is punk about? Like fucking hell, fucking on the slap of the bass, man. Like fucking hell.
Yeah.
Why would you bring up ska music?
Well, they talk about it. Well, they don't talk about ska music. They talk to
I know
different bands
but still,
that basically.
you
talk
know
about...
this is going to set me off. Why do you do this?
I'll get off it then.
Good.
And so they spend quite a bit of time on like the history of skateboarding, and then what happened sort of when Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 was released, and then what that did for skateboarding in general, and like just a bunch of the people that were in those games and the recognition they got and the amount of money they ended up making. There's a bit in there where it talks about like Activision going back to Tony Hawk before the game's release and saying, hey, we want to buy back like your sort of royalties or like your branding. So I'm guessing like Tony Hawk is getting a cut of the proceeds or the revenue from the game. And they were trying to buy that back off him and say, we'll give you a stack of money and then you're free. Like you're good from your contract and we can continue making these games sort of without you. And he they ended up making a bunch of games. I don't want to spoil what happens, but they ended up making a bunch more of those games. And it made a bucket load of money. And then they also explore like the future of that franchise and sort of where it went and the decline of it and what happened. The one thing that they don't talk about is the remastered version, which I thought was maybe a little bit strange because this sort of came out pretty much around the same sort of time.
Based on what I know of it, they were like almost entirely finished with production on this.
Yeah.
When remastered was announced, and so that's why they didn't go.
But surely he had some sort of knowledge on that and could have been like, hey, by the way, we're remastering this game. I can talk about it. It's just weird to me that wasn't a part of it. But I guess it could have been seen as more like a marketing gimmick then as well, of being like, hey, we've got this new thing coming out. Anyway, it's a good documentary. It focuses like there's bits and pieces in there that talk about how even sort of like progressive the game was as well, by including like black people in the game who are skaters and women who are skaters, professional skaters, and sort of like how that also influenced the scene of, you know, all these young women or young girls that grew up then skating, and how that influenced like people of color and that sort of stuff. So you kind of like, it's something that is important that wasn't really that big of a deal, I guess, back then, because it was just like, oh, it's just another character, but it has a big impact on other people. So just like hearing their stories is pretty cool, and how they ended up getting into the scene as well.
You know, and they like sort of kept that trend alive with the remake. They renamed the mute grab to like the Weddle grab, I think. In honor of the guy who invented it. I think the story goes like he didn't talk much.
Mm.
And so they called him mute as sort of like a term of endearment, but also like a bit of a jibe. And so they renamed it from the mute grab to the weddle grab to sort of clarify that it's not being mute isn't something to be made fun of for and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I feel like even in this newest game, the remaster, just for some reason, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think when you created a character, it asked you like male or female. It kind of just gave you a bunch of characters, right? Is that what happened?
I don't remember.
I feel like they were just all on a screen, and you kind of just picked a character and body shape. Unless I'm thinking of a different game I played recently. But that's like the last one I can think of where it was like, hey, create a character. And it wasn't like pick a gender. It was just kind of like, here's a bunch of different faces and bodies and go nuts. Anyway, yeah, so, I thought it was fine. There's obviously like, they get a bunch of the developers back then who were working on it. It doesn't really go into a lot of the sort of the issues or like if there were any issues surrounding.
No, it's not like Raising Kratos where there's
bits
that
in there.
There's that hint at some off-screen drama.
Yeah, where like Shui comes in and like
drama.
This is fucking trash. Like this game is bad.
There was nothing like that. But I don't think it's more of a looking back type one as opposed to the in the moment. This is less Hearts of Darkness and more remembering Godfather type thing.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, that's what is it called? Pretending I'm Superman, the Tony Hawk video game story. There's a bunch of other documentaries that are sort of out there focusing on the video game scene at the moment. There's a series on it's called Console Wars. I think it's on CBS All Access over here at the moment, which sort of looks at like the battle between Nintendo and Sega and that sort of stuff. And there is also another series on Netflix that I can't remember the name of, but I've watched like one episode, and that focused on sort of like Pac-Man, I think it was, and it sort of goes through the years and like different genres.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find
usually, like
high school.
I'm high school. Yeah, I heard about it, but I usually go in for more single focus documentaries. I don't know why. Yeah, like I don't know. I've never seen a video game documentary. Like I watch a lot of documentaries, and yeah, I've never seen a video game one that I felt was on the same level as anything 30 for 30 did, and so I find it very difficult to justify to myself to watch a video game documentary, despite obviously being a very relevant field to me, because I prefer to watch sports documentaries. But I take a lot from sports documentaries. Like I get a lot out of sports documentaries anyway. I think there's a lot to learn from the stories they tell in them. So, yeah.
I think I've recommended this before, but the stuff that Danny does on NoClip is pretty good. I've watched
just like the problem I have with NoClip is that it's very in the pocket.
Sure.
Of the subjects. Like there isn't much. Yeah, there's no distinction between the subject and the documentarian there. Like most of the time, it seems like they're literally paying NoClip to do the documentary. Like it's almost advertising experience, a marketing experience.
The last couple that I've watched do talk about issues and things like that. and issues that arise. The only thing that I think it does that can off-put people is that sometimes they're very like, they'll focus on one game and then it's an hour and 20-minute documentary, and then other times it's like split up into like 5 different segments, and this part is on the music, and this part is on the launch, and then this part is on the design concept, and it's sort of broken up into pieces. Like the Hades one that I watched recently was like that. It was sort of broken up into 5 or 6 episodes that focused on different areas of the development, and I think that was because it was filmed across and released across a period of time. Whereas when they do like the Doom documentary or other stuff with Bethesda, it's the what was the last one I watched as well? It was pretty good. The stuff with, I think it was Arcane, and they looked at like a history of their games starting at the very beginning up until, like, they talked about cancelled projects in there, and how I talked about this, right? Where they were working on like a Half-Life game at one stage, and what went wrong with that, and what went wrong with other games they worked on, and how bugs ended up being features because they just did weird things, and that's how you get weird arcane-y style gameplay elements. Like that sort of stuff I enjoy watching. But yeah, it is very like fluff PC, some of it.
Yeah. I pretty much stopped watching after the Doom one, because that one just felt
like an advertisement.
Yeah, and like that was a game that I was super excited for, and I remain excited at having played, but yeah, that just felt
All right.
Anyway,
let's smash through some games here. Spelunky 2 update. Talked about Spelunky.
Oh, here we go. You worked it out yet?
I did work it out. There's a button in Steam where you can press, and it's a refund button. And when you press that, you apparently get your money back.
Wow.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I played another 10 minutes of it and was like, I think I'm good. Like I then went and watched a bunch of Twitch streamers and they were playing, and I'm like, this is not, like, I do not find this exciting at all. Yeah. It just seems super redundant, and it just doesn't offer the same sort of progression mechanics that I get from other roguelike games that are, or for games like that where you're sort of learning from dying, but this game is kind of just you're learning from dying and that is it. Like, you're not making yourself strong or anything. So yeah, it's just, didn't have fun with it. So I played another 10 minutes, I refunded it and got my money back in an hour. I think it took, like, literally an hour. I didn't write anything in the text box. I pressed refund. It asks you like a bunch of questions, like, what's wrong with it? Is it technical issues? Is it something else? And I think I just put like not having fun and selected that. It was like, leave a comment. I'm like, no, just next. I'll see what happens. So I got my money back, which is cool because I was expecting some sort of, I don't know, a fight, because I can't throw the I'm in Australia, fuck you anymore. Like, I'm paying for stuff as an American resident now, and they could have just been like, fuck you. you bought it. But I got my money back, so that's cool.
You dumb bitch. Dumb California bitch.
You haven't checked it out yet?
Yeah. No. I, listened to you talk about it, watched Dan Hines playing it. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm okay. I've already got a roguelike game that I keep playing, even though I fucking hate myself for it. So
you're still playing it?
Noita. I still don't know how to say it. I refuse to watch any videos on it. Any more videos on it outside of the 18-hour how to build a wand video that I watched that never successfully explained what I was supposed to do at the start of the game to build a wand. But yes, that is the game I play when I just generally feeling good about myself. I've got like a high self-esteem issue sometimes, and I'm like, you know what? Time to fucking balance this shit out. Let's play some Noita. And it all goes away. Perfect. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, yeah, that's what the refund system is for, right? Like, why should you be trapped into owning a game that you thought you would enjoy and then didn't like? That's ridiculous.
I mean, it'd be like I don't know, like most things, right? Where it's there's no, I can't like play a demo of it or anything, or it'd be like you going to buy a car and they're like, you can't take it for a test drive, you have to buy it.
But do it, go.
Do it, just buy it. And I'm like, no, but I want to drive. And they're like, nah, too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's some fucking fancy, like they've made 10 of them and they're like, you just have to drive it. Fuck you. Sorry, you just have to buy it. You can't drive it. Anyway, but just like things like that, where like I just want to try things first, and I buy a lot of fucking video games, like a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hard to me to buy every fucking game and be like, I got to make choices. So just not for me. I can understand that some people like it, but it's just not. I wasn't going to put any more time into it, so why should I buy it? Anyway, the other game that I've been playing a bunch of is I replayed through Marvel's Spider-Man. I think I mentioned this last week. I didn't talk about it yet. But I replayed through it from start to finish over the last week and a bit, and just sort of gearing up until the PlayStation 5 launch and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Just getting back into this swing of things, and refreshing myself on that story and sort of what happened, because I could not really remember how. Like I know that Miles is in that story, and I couldn't really remember how he got his powers. Like, it just went out of, like, I know from the comics how it happens, but the Marvel Spider-Man story is wildly different from not wildly different, but it's telling a different story. Things happen in that story that are completely different from the comic books, either Ultimate Spider-Man or the Amazing Spider-Man, that sort of stuff. So I couldn't really remember exactly how it happened, and I just wanted to go back and play it so that when I do play Spider-Man Miles Morales, I've got like some sort of connection between the two, and I can talk about it a bit more critically as to what's better, what's not as good, that sort of thing. That game, still holds up really well. I think that still my biggest criticism about that game is the sort of last...
How slow you swing? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
You swing...
You do swing way too slow.
I think you didn't upgrade your swinging speed. That's what happens.
Get the fuck out of here. You push this same fake news narrative like last time.
You must
as well.
swing up really high and then jump, and you go like
I am so fucking good at swinging in games. It is unbelievable how good I am at swinging games. It is crazy.
Why are you so slow at it?
The game is slow. That's why I'm able to notice how slow Spider-Man PS4 is at swinging, because
we're going to bring up you noticing how slow things are.
So finely tuned to what an acceptable rate of swinging is, and like it's just not good enough. Honestly, it's just not good enough.
All right.
Anyway,
what
was your biggest complaint?
The last sort of quarter of the game, or there's a part of the game where the section of this, or actually most of the city, becomes like overrun by police-like forces who are just constantly shooting at you. And for a game where swinging is that much important, you just getting shot out of the sky, not shot out of the sky, but getting shot at every 15 seconds and having to dodge the fire is just extremely tedious.
And even with the slow swinging, I didn't have that big a problem with that, because I'm really good at swinging. But I can see how that would be an issue. No, I think we talked about this when the game first came out. It was probably my biggest complaint with it as well. It is like it's
making something not funny.
Symptomatic. Yeah, but it's symptomatic of the general progression curve of video games, where you've got to have the power ramp of the player character, but you have to have the power ramp of the enemy to match it. Otherwise, like, or at least not necessarily one-on-one match it, but at least follow closely behind it. Otherwise, the player gets bored. And yeah, I think a lot of open world games often fall into that same trap because I don't know if we specifically called it out back then, but like Prototype and Infamous both sort of fell into that same like issue. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas as well, but that wasn't until like this is like the last 25% of Spider-Man, and in San Andreas, I think it was like the last 3%, if that. You know, like you could avoid the really nasty lockdown part of San Andreas until fucking forever. You couldn't do it in Prototype. I think Prototype 2 started in that state. It was pretty annoying. Infamous got there eventually, and Spider-Man, yeah, definitely does it as well. Just not a fan of, but like, it's difficult, right? Like, what do you do instead, right? Like, because we know why it happens, right?
Sure.
What do you do when the player can moment to moment do whatever the fuck they want, but at the same time, you want to make sure they feel challenged and feel pressured and feel like there's some impetus to fucking achieve goals and stuff, you know? Like what are you supposed to do? I mean, what did, I guess, Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 what did 4 do? 4 I think did the same thing as San Andreas, right? But again, in the last 3%, so it's almost ignorable. And Grand Theft Auto 5 just kept it all purely mission based, right? Like there was no major changes to the city outside of missions.
Yeah,
maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe
I
it's
think
a
that's
better
the
way.
thing is it needs to be contained in the mission. Like the game does the thing where it's like, hey, you're going into the last missions. Make sure you level up and spend your points because you're not going to be able to go back. I think that's the part where you do that, where you set the fucking city on fire and there's Sable forces on rooftops shooting you and that sort of thing. But when it's the last quarter of that game and you've still got like all these icons on the map that you can go and do, but you're getting shot at every time you swing in a corner, like that's when it's like, man, this is just becoming. And it wasn't as big as a problem for me this time around because I wasn't as focused on doing a lot of that side stuff. Like I was still doing a bunch of it, but I tried to, I 100% of that game the last time I played it. Whereas this time I was purely playing it for the story. So it wasn't as impactful. But yeah, I think leaving it in a mission setting as opposed to the open world setting is the way you need to address that.
Yeah. Well, although how do you reflect the impact? Because I guess, you know, obviously the idea is that the player's actions have an impact on the city itself, right? Which is definitely what they're trying to do in Prototype, sort of what they were trying to do in Infamous, and obviously what they were trying to do in Spider-Man.
I don't think it has an impact, though. It's not like you're clearing sections of the city and it's like liberating it or anything. That's not what they did in that game.
No.
So I don't think there's any like there's nothing in that game where it's like you've completed this part and now it's changed the way the city behaves in this section. Like it doesn't do any of that in that game. Maybe that is the solution.
Yeah. Well, I doubt that they're gonna fix it for Miles Morales, so
that might change something.
Probably buckle in for more of that.
Yeah, but I still the combat in that game is just so freaking good. Like, and that was my sort of comparison between Spider-Man and the Batman Arkham series. Is that I think after playing Spider-Man and also replaying the Batman stuff recently, like combat is just so much better in Spider-Man because you're using those gadgets to interact with the enemies and you're using them to sort of exploit their weaknesses as well. Whereas in Batman, you've got the punch, the stun, they have like the different types of attacks and that's kind of all you're really doing. Like you've got a couple of gadgets, but they're not really. You're not really using them in the middle of fights because it's just so finicky. And then on top of that, just the weird mobility, that the way he moves, like being able to press attack and then just fly across the screen doing like a cartwheel, and it's so far, it just doesn't make any sense. Whereas here, when they do it, it's like there's a reason for that to happen. Like he uses his web and he goes across.
All right, like
so
let's just fucking okay. We're going a bit far now. Okay,
I think it's just the gadgets. That
I know
really,
you're a spider boy, right?
I'm
and
both.
you feel the need to shit on Batman as much as you can, but fucking calm your farm.
Yeah,
calm your farm.
Story is really awesome. It's really good story. The just the whole setting of New York and how that sort of is portrayed in the game is really well done, and I'm curious to see what that looks like in Miles Morales as well. Like it's apparently going to be in winter, around Christmas time. And I think I read something about them doing it in like Brooklyn as well. So like there's another section of the city, I guess, that they'll be exploring. So yeah, I'm definitely keen on playing that game when it comes out. Hands down, like Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man is one of the best games on PlayStation 4 easily. It's up there with your God of War and Last of Us and like all the first party games they've done. Yeah, it's really well done game. So I'm keen for that sort of stuff. It was good to go back and replay it. I didn't jump in and do the DLC only because I'd recently played through that lot of DLC. And I was I was tossing up whether or not to just wait and play it on PlayStation 5 when it came out. But I think the sort of fact that it's going to be so busy around then, like next month, is going to be. Is it next? It is next month. It's going to be insane. I'm not going to have the time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have the time that I'll be able to sit there and play through an entire game. Like I might jump in. No, I probably won't. Because
through an entire game you've already played, man.
Yeah, played before. I think playing Miles Morales will sort of give me that experience that I was, looking for. It'll just be the same sort of thing. So, yeah, looking forward to it. That was, if you haven't played it yet, definitely check it out because it's one of the better games on the first.
Would you do it? No, would you check it out now?
It depends if you've got it or not. I think if you don't have it,
if you've got a PS5 on the way,
yeah, I'd wait. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it becomes a decision of, do you play Marvel Spider-Man or do you play Spider-Man Miles Morales? Like it's because I don't know where it fits in the timeline. I feel like it's set a year after. Like I know it's set afterwards, but I'm not sure the time span. And then like what they're gonna do in terms of the storytelling. Like, are they gonna do a recap on that game where it's like previously on Spider-Man? Like, here's what's happened, or is it just kind of its own standalone thing that's not really connected much in that way? It's hard to say. Because obviously the game everyone's gonna be talking about when that thing comes out is Miles Morales, and do you want to be part of that conversation, or are you happy to just play it the way it's, I guess, supposed to be?
There's only 2 fucking games coming out on the fucking PlayStation 5, so
right,
like
again, you've got all those other games that are coming out around that time, like Cyberpunk, Call of Duty.
It's not for weeks.
Legion.
A week. Yeah, Legion.
Valhalla. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of stuff coming out.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would wait. I would if I had a PS5 coming and I hadn't yet played Spider-Man, I would wait.
Absolutely wait, yeah.
For the true spider swinging experience.
Yeah. What if they're not speeding up his swinging?
Oh my god, I'm going to be so fucking upset. Of course, only I will be able to tell as the swinger. That's what they call me. They call me a swinger. Anyway, NBA 2K.
Yeah.
I reviewed this for Oz Games. So I jumped back in, played a bunch of it.
All right.
I still can't get a reasonable fucking online game working, although I stopped getting booted from them. So I was finally able to earn some rep, which is extremely exciting. But it was an infuriating experience, and I wouldn't recommend anyone do it. It's not really a product of the game itself, though. It's more a product of everyone who plays NBA online appears to be some sort of fuckhead. I honest to God have better experiences random dropping with fucking 12-year-olds in Warzone than I did in the 4 games that I managed to play online of NBA 2K. Holy shit. Like, these people will throw up the dumbest shots, and like you've got the little meter that tells you, right? And so not only is like they were fucking what is it? Heavily contested, and like fucking 60% or something, and you're like,
and they're jacking up like Steph Curry shots from like the logo.
absolutely. Like if they get the ball, there were like in every single one of these games, there was at least one player who my heart would sink if they got the ball because you knew they were throwing up the dumbest shots. Everyone else would throw up pretty bad shots here and there, like, you know, mid-range jumpers when someone who's like 2 feet taller than them is standing right on top of them, but they'll like jack it up anyway because they spent so long like fucking about not passing the ball that, you know, the shot clock, better do it. Maybe now that the time's run out, that'll improve their fucking chances. No, that doesn't happen. Anytime I got the ball, obviously I'm going to paint myself as the picture-perfect teammate. However, I am the picture-perfect teammate. Anytime I got the ball, I would drive the fucking... Because my dude is a 100% in the paint fucking scorer. I would drive the fucking paint, and I would either attempt a 100% fucking like easy, like it doesn't even matter if there's someone on me. I don't even get the meter doesn't even come up when I shoot these shots. I don't know what it is. There is a space underneath the hoop where it doesn't matter anymore, and you always get it in. I've got like the badges, the contact finisher.
Yeah,
and there's another finisher badge. Yeah, back down finisher. I've gotten both I got contact finisher, Hall of Fame, and back down finisher at gold. And so what was happening was provided like, yeah.
As long as they don't have shot blocking badges, you're probably okay.
Even then, most of the time I'm okay because of the way timing works. Like it blocking requires really good timing in 2K21, and it's hard to time when someone's going to do it. But yeah, I would like just head to the paint, put in a couple, and then I would start getting doubled like constantly, and that was it. That was enough. I wasn't trying to put the fucking ball in myself. I'd pass it out to someone who was open, who would fucking brick it. And then we'd go back down the other end, and then I'd do it again, and I would choose someone else. I would just rotate until I found someone who was actually going to fucking hit their shots. It does feel like I give NBA a lot of credit here, right? That must be how LeBron feels when he is 1 assist away from a triple-double, and everyone on the Lakers decides it's fucking time to build a fucking brick house. Because oh my god, why are you passing? But like when he's on, right? And then like KCP in yesterday's game, right? Like I get fucking nervous and yesterday I was like, hold up, I think he's on his game today.
Why does KCP have more points than LeBron? What is going on?
But yeah, like holy shit, man. Yeah, that must be how LeBron feels when he passes, like when he was playing on the Cavs and he passed the ball out to someone who was wide open because he was getting fucking triple teamed. and they were like, like, good, that's good, fantastic, great. I guess I don't get a fucking assist. Anyway, so yeah, played some games. Wouldn't recommend it. Just wouldn't recommend it. You just
Were
like
you playing in
everyone
the
else
park or were you playing in the rec center?
in the rec center. Yeah,
Right.
Because I can't get games in the park. Well, I might be able to now. Actually, I should go back and check it out. But I didn't have time at the time. But yeah, I should go back and see if I can get some games in the park. That's probably better. It seems like the rec center is for people who just want to grind out rep points, and the parks might be for people who want to actually play basketball. I don't know. I mean, it is still only what 3v3 in the park.
It is, and it's a bit quicker as well because you're not playing a full
Yeah,
sweaty
Yeah.
4-quarter game.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I wouldn't recommend that. But no, start up with my league.
Oh yeah.
I just want a regular one. Didn't like. I could have done expansion teams, so I didn't really want to fuck with it. Just grabbed the Lakers and decided to see what I could do with them.
Tried to make them better. Is this the you take
I
the
was like,
best team in the league and you're like,
wonder if I could take these plucky bunch of upstarts and take
I'm
them
going
all
for a
away
coffee
to
break. I'll be back
champion.
later.
I don't know if they can do it. I had hoop dreams, coach. Yeah, so just grabbed the Lakers and decided to see what we could get done. And yeah, I mean, it's actually better than, because I think I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I mostly just play quick games if I'm not playing my player. I feel like I've been wasting my time. I should have been playing my league. Like, it's roughly the same. The only problem I have is that I can't just bail. I can bail on a quick game without feeling too bad, but I can't just bail on a my league game without being like,
It's my boys out there.
But you can sim the ends and stuff. I just don't like leaving it to the fucking computer for anything. So, but no, it's like it's a good system. Like, it's always been a good system. It doesn't seem that different. Last time I played, I think it was still called My League. Would have been like 2K16, right? That was the Kyrie year. That was the one where you got shoes, right?
I don't remember.
Anyway, yeah, that was the last time I played My League, and it seems roughly the same. It doesn't seem like they've evolved it over like a bunch of years. I don't. I know my GM is an option, and I believe that's like a bit more of a my player variant. But I'm not interested in any of the storytelling of 2K21. It has to be the worst storytelling. Maybe in the series.
And it never. The last couple of years that I've played it, it's never had like any voice acting or anything. It was kind of just all text-based storytelling. You just sit there and read text. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's not that interested in that, but yeah, in terms of there's an actual, like, you create your own storylines, right? Like, you create your own storylines in my league, and the Lakers going on a 9-0 run to start the season. First of all, they've all been blowouts, and I'm starting to think I might need to jack up the difficulty. But I'm worried that once I go above All-Star, I'm gonna have to contend with that fucking
shooting stuff.
The new shot system, which I'm not. I for the purposes of review, I went back and turned it on, and I did not enjoy myself. I do not like it feels like I understand what they're going for, right? I understand what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to incentivize players to have some part of their stroke be sort of automatic, so that the rest of it can be sort of manual, right? Like, or you go full fucking Steph Curry lights out shooter, where the whole thing is automatic. But there's
Yeah.
no part of how. So, like, I don't think there's there isn't a player base for the 2K games who is going to be jacking up hundreds of fucking shots so that they can learn the timing and direction of every fucking spot on the court. That's just insane. And if you haven't learned all those things, then you aren't watching the basketball game, you're watching the shot meter. And you have to laser in on that fucking meter. That is everything that you pay attention to. Like, you don't pay attention to anything else at that point. And that feels bad as a gameplay experience. Like, it's this glorious, like, it's the fuck, holy shit, how good does the next gen version look? But even this gen's version looks good. But you are sitting there anytime you're preparing to take a shot, you're sitting there lasered in on a fucking meter that takes up about fucking 2% of the screen. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
That was like one of my complaints a couple of years back, where they implemented the new shot stick and then put it below the person's feet, and it's like, why am I looking at their feet now? Like, the ball is in someone's hands, and now I'm looking at their feet. Like, that makes no sense. They changed it the next year because obviously they listened to me, but what? That's the same sort of thing, right? You're no longer watching the basketball game that's going on, or your release of your hands. You're watching this meter fill up.
That's the other thing, right? Like, at least if it's full timing based, you can watch the fucking release from the hand. But you can't do that if you have to look, is it left or right? And there is a little, like, there is some intuition to it, but it's not always the same. Like, you can sort of, I think it's handedness, right? Like, it's the hand you shoot with, plus the side of the hoop you're on. But I think there's something to like the player's momentum as they're moving, if they are moving, that alters it as well. And so, like,
and there's also the lock-on thing that I never, like, I've not watched any videos, but there's also the lock-on button as well, which I've never, like, I don't know how that works either. It's just like above, it's way too above where the way I play that game, so I'm not sure.
Who's it for? But at the same time, the AI isn't good enough at All-Star for me to be suitably challenged. So, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? You know, like, not play as not start my league as the best team in the league, maybe. I suppose I could go a different team, but, like, fuck that shit. I don't know. Like, I want to play as the team I want to play as.
I think, like, it's purely to make the game harder. Like, they're trying to figure out how to make the game harder for the esports side, and then also the all stars in the neighborhood that are just destroying people. Like, they're trying to figure out how you can make it so it's just not like a button press and it goes in, as long as it's in the sweet spot, because they've nailed the timing. They're trying to make it a bit more interactive.
Like, that makes sense. I guess I get it. It's just, it doesn't work for how, I want to play the game. And
maybe
I don't think
the setting needs to be jacked up one more, so it's the difficulty is,
that's what I was thinking.
Up one level.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm that good, but I'm definitely better than All-Star difficulty. So it doesn't. Yeah, it shouldn't work the way it does. Nevertheless, knock through some more of my player as well. Like, I think it's a good game, but it's not different enough. If you, like, I say it in my review. I mean, if it's like, it's I think the big thing for me with this review was that, like, the challenge of it is sort of balancing expectations, right? Because people have different expectations depending on their relationship with the game. Because it's an annualized franchise, there are people who just buy it every year. But it's also, that's the game that they play.
Yeah.
That is their Call of Duty, right? And how do you interpret that game if that's your sort of, if that's your jam, right? Like I skipped last year's after finishing my play. I didn't really play it outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
But like before that, I played, like that was mostly my sports game for years and years. Back all the way back to like 20. I don't know, when did FIFA start being really shit? There was like a year when it's, shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. It's like 14 or something, right? Like yeah, like FIFA was trending down and NBA was trending up, and I'm like, well, I'll switch sports. And that was just the sports game I played, right? Every single year. Like how you like, so I sort of reviewed it from that perspective. But yeah, if you take it as if it's like more holistic, if you're sort of looking at it as a question of, is this a good enough game for someone who doesn't like basketball? No, I do not think so. Doesn't like or only dips in every other year? Yeah, I think you should. I think 2K21 is better than 2K20. And if you've been waiting since 2K19, then yeah, 2K21 for sure. If you like sports games, don't know if you want to go FIFA or this. I'm not sure. I've got FIFA installed, but I didn't get a chance to play it because I got this commission. I don't know. Like if you're able to switch codes easy enough, then maybe. But I've heard decent things about FIFA 21. It's hard to say, man. Like the only thing I can definitely say is, do not engage with my team at all. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't play my team. Luke,
why?
Don't play my team.
Why don't you like my team?
Stop it. Stop it. I see another game on the list is Genshin Impact. So obviously you love your fucking gacha games, but stop playing fucking my team. No, but like it's yeah. I think one of the big things we've complained about every year for ages is how awful the 2K series has become with VC, and I do not think that 2K21. I think they've really ramped back on at least like the requirement is still there, but it looks like they pushed a lot of the more abhorrent microtransactional bullshit to cosmetics as opposed to gameplay altering stuff, which I think is good.
I mean, you're still using VC to level up your character.
Oh, obviously. No, 100%. But I find, like, I feel like the rate of progression up until around 85 is far more reasonable, and 85 is a decent player. Like, I think Jimmy Butler's fucking 87, which they might need to revisit. But, like...
They're good. I think they're good.
Oh, they're okay. Yeah.
He might be too high, actually.
Might be too high, he says. That's a chilling indictment of the Lakers in game 3 then, Lukey, because...
That's because the refs were on their team as well. It's hard to play 5-on-5 basketball when there's 3 other people on your team.
Holy shit. Okay, Aisha Curry. Like, why don't you just fucking calm the fuck down here? Anyway.
25 free throws at one stage. The Heat had taken 4 on the Lakers. They evened it out after halftime when Adam Silver called them and said, "What are you doing? You've flipped this up the wrong way." But it took them a while.
Gold. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, a lot of that, the VC has, like, it's still there, it's still prominent. But yeah, the My Team stuff is also a huge, like, My Team is basically a collectible card game. In a video game now. Like back in the day when you go buy like Beckett cards and Beckett cards, and like they've just basically transformed that into a video game. that's what it is now. So, like, I'm fine with it. I usually just play I don't spend money in there. I just play the challenges, like week challenges and the single player missions. You can go in and play multiplayer
if you
as
engage
well
with
if you
it
want.
at all, you're goofing.
Okay, I'm not
Just
spending
don't
money
engage
though.
with it. Just play Miley. Just play my
Okay.
my GM or whatever the fuck. Okay.
Jack
You can
those
create your
popcorn
fantasy
prices up.
fucking teams and stuff, and really fucking ramp it up. But like sell
If
it.
the popcorn prices were
Bacon
tied
flavor.
to VC, I'd be playing my GM all the time. Just jack those prices up.
Oh, yeah.
Sell them hot dogs.
Just go full fucking. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, head to Oz Games for my review. I don't know when the fuck it'll be up. Sometime soon. And
Nice.
yeah, there is a airplane, but I don't know if maybe RTX voice is drowning it out.
I can't hear it.
Whoa, look at it go. You go, girl. All right, cool.
Can you hear me clapping?
You're not even clapping, dog ass.
Correct.
Unbelievable. All right. Call of Duty Warzone.
Yep. Still playing Warzone.
Still playing Warzone. Yeah. They've got these two new guns in the game, the SPR and the AS Val. And they've been shaking things up a little in that they are utterly ridiculous weapons. Ridiculous in a way that I've literally never seen before. The SPR it has to be a bug, but it has 0 bullet drop.
Mm-hmm.
The stats it has do not reflect that, however, but it has 0 bullet drop over, I think it's something like 480 meters or something, which is largely outside of a very small percentage of cases, largely outside of, like, you'll never use it beyond 400 meters. So that gun's ridiculous. It is just I don't understand how they arrived at a gun that works like that. And then it doesn't, like, the great thing is that it doesn't even compare. It doesn't even come close to comparing to the other new gun, the AS Val, which if you put there's like I can't remember what the rounds are called, but there's a set of rounds that you can put into it that have high penetration, maybe sex tape, and these things shoot through literally everything. Like literally everything.
10R mags?
That's it, yeah. And they shoot through legitimately everything. Like everything. And it's ridiculous. Like, there are videos of people like throwing a heartbeat across the map and it catches someone and then they just laser them. And it doesn't matter what they're shooting through. It just shoots through everything until they die. And it's basically 0 damage drop off on penetration.
Yeah, that's a bug. I've seen those videos. It's broken.
It's still in there. I was using it last night. I don't I unlocked the weapons, but I don't have the rounds in question. But I do have a shield, and no bullets penetrate the shield. So I can walk up to some guy who thinks he's able to kill everyone through everything, and then I fucking murder him with my shield. And then I steal his gun, and then I get to use the gun. And it is as ridiculous as fucking advertised. Which is very entertaining. My theory, people have been spinning out trying to work out why they exist. But I think that they exist to catch out hackers. Because if you have an aimbot, if you can toggle an aimbot, then you will toggle onto a head, and there's no need for you to, for the aimbot to adjust to a height or anything, which is traditionally something that a lot of them have trouble with. So now hackers can toggle their aimbot on with the SPR and get headshots from anywhere within 400 meters, which means they can just like bang, headshot, headshot, headshot. And that would be very easy to see, statistically speaking. And then you've got the wall hackers, and we were talking about this a little bit last night when we were playing. But the problem that I think, software only anti-cheat solutions have is that often they don't, like, if they can't see a cheat, then they can't tell you there's a cheat. Like it's just done. Like there's no chance for them to actually do anything about it, which is why we, back at Game Arena, we always had like, obviously we had anti-cheat, but we also had
stats
and reporting, and stats. And so stats would give you the ability to go check someone out, and reporting and demos and stuff like that, and that would give you the ability to see them in action. Like the more, like, most people who are hacking because they want to succeed, and because ultimately they're losers, but they don't want to feel like losers for a little while. Most of them aren't using fucking aimbots, right? And that's what was it Fair Fight and stuff. That's why the dual the wombo combo of both, is it Fair Fight or Fair Light? I can't remember.
Fight,
whatever it's called. Fair Fight. That and Punk Buster. The purpose of having both of them working in tandem is because you can see when a player has a statistically way higher success rate, then they can get flagged by Fair Fight automatically without the need for reporting and stuff like that. A gun that is all wall hacks, or is specifically like boosted by wall hacks, is a fantastic opportunity to catch out some fucking hackers. Like you would wrap, it'd be like fucking, it's like the fucking free boat scam in The Simpsons when Homer wins a free boat and they use it to get him down to the police station because he hasn't actually won a free boat. But like he's like, yeah, cool, I won a free boat. Where's my boat? But it was just a trick. Yeah, it's a trick. I think that's what's going on. That's what's going on with these weapons. But the ultimate reality is that that's why they're also available at like ranks 15 and 30 of the battle pass. Like easy to get. You get them real quick if you've played a couple of games. But yeah, none of them fucking matter when you've got a fucking shield. So the shield continues to be the greatest of all the weapons in the Call of Duty Warzone meta. And yeah, you shared a video. Apparently, the Reddit now has learned about the power of the shield and the thermite counter to it, but they're still not as good. They're still not as good as me. Hey,
what's the thermite counter?
Thermite counter to shields is you wallop a fucking thermite on the shield and it burns them like it's on them.
I thought you meant there's a counter to people with shields and thermite.
Oh no, there's nothing. There's nothing stopping me. You can't stop me. The only way you can stop me is by surrounding me. But yeah, in two-player games. So I chucked out a video on my YouTube of me and Nate winning a game with the shield and 6 wombo combo. I got a cheeky 9 kills out of that one. 3 of them were at the end, and 2 of them were against guys with shields. But ironically, because I'm the king of the shield, I knew, and they didn't know how to stop me, and I just fucking jumped up and hit the dude with my fucking sticks. And he didn't. All he had to do was hit me once, because I didn't have any fucking plates. I was low. I'd been hit by his mate's thermite, and then I went and fucking killed the other guy as well. It was fucking hilarious. I could have fucking executed the guy for the ultimate win, but I didn't. I'm so cutted. Oh, Anyway, good times. Yeah, there's a couple of Warzone vids on my YouTube. I'm going to start chucking them up on YouTube again as opposed to Streamable, because Streamable has been showing me. I've got uBlock, but Streamable's been showing me some dodge ass ads lately, and I believe that they get served to anyone watching my Streamable links. And I don't. If they're going to do dodgy ass ads, then I don't want to fucking share them around. So I'll just chuck them off.
They also delete your videos after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, they do if they haven't been watched or whatever. Yeah, which is annoying. So I'll just chuck them off on YouTube.
Right.
Anyway.
Cool. Anything else to add?
No.
All right. Let's get through this one quickly. Genshin Impact. So you haven't played this at all?
Yes, I have played it.
You have played it. Is this recommended by your brother? This feels like a game your brother would be like all about.
Because he's a giant weeb. No, I arrived at this one independent of my giant weeb brother. Yeah. Yeah. No, I was playing this because I was chatting with the editor-in-chief of IGN Australia, Cam, and he was going on and on and on about Breath of the Wild, and because he did a video about how it's still fun to play. And it's a really good video. You should check it out. It's a good watch. It's like 6 reasons I'm still playing Breath of the Wild. And he basically just glitches it, but he's playing it with his son and teaching his son all the glitches and stuff. And yeah, it's good. Anyway, then I saw, like, just randomly Genshin Impact recommended. I don't know. Maybe my phone was listening to me, but yeah, it was like, oh, recommended if you like Breath of the Wild. I'm like, well, I don't want to go into anything here, but I didn't love Breath of the Wild. But anyway, sure, I'll check this game out. And yeah, I've played it for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah,
on my phone.
That's where I'm about at.
And yeah, it's very pretty. And I don't know, I got some fucking town, and this chick jumped down across a bridge or something, and like, I don't know. Does anyone like the story? Like, they're doing like the anime shit. And I'm like,
yeah,
I just can't do this. I can't.
But that's Breath of the Wild, right? That is that storytelling style. This is very.
This is so anime. Much more anime than Breath of the Wild, though. You know, like Breath of the Wild storytelling is extremely bad, but yeah, this is obviously from half an hour. You know, I've only played half an hour, but like this is so much worse. In my experience, I do not like it. Oh my god. Yeah, and I just don't give a shit. Like, shut the fuck up. When do I get to do some Breath of the Wild shit? Do you know what I got to do in Breath of the Wild? Like, I was doing all kinds of crazy shit. I didn't love my time in it as much as some people, but I did enjoy myself. I was like fighting stuff. All I've fought so far is some fucking blobs and some dudes who, I don't know, trolls or something, goblins, whatever the fuck they are. But they it's not like I can trade weapons with them or anything. I don't know. It just seems like a.
Do you want some degradation weapons in your?
I want some weapon degradation. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah. No, this is doing the mobile sort of card game element thing where you get a bunch of something and then you feed it into that. Like into another item, and that levels up that item. That's right. Like the thing that it's seems to be doing. Because I have gotten like new, again, like same as you, I've played about 30 minutes. I'm at that town, and I've gotten like a posse now. Like there's a group, and that's where I stopped because I had to go get some lunch. But yeah, I got some weapons, and it was like, all right, this is how you upgrade this weapon. You feed in lower tier weapons, and that levels it up. And here's a bunch of new characters, and you can level them up, and they've got different types of abilities. This one's like different elementals. Like this is a fire one. This one does water, and this one over here is, I don't know, ice, something like that. Haven't really used them all yet. But like your main character is a sword swinging dude or lady, I guess, depending on who you pick. And the second character I got, she has a bow and is able to shoot people, and you sort of just press a directional button on the control. I'm using controller on PC. You sort of just hit a directional control that switches in and out of all these characters. So I don't know like how that sort of works with combat, apart from you can't switch characters during combat. I noticed that. So it seems like a thing where you're prepared to do an encounter and you're like, all right, what's the best party character to use in this specific situation? Like, is it something I need to take my fire elementals into, or am I using, water or whatever? So yeah, like you, I'm not that far into it, so I don't really know how the combat works, but all I've heard about this game is that it's really good. It's free to play, and it sort of hits that sort of same tone as like a Breath of the Wild does, and it does that in terms of its art style. Like it's right up there, and we've seen a couple of those similar types of art styles people are going for. Like we played Spellbreak a couple of weeks back, the Battle Royale, very similar sort of art style, and we've got that Ubisoft Gods and Monsters, which they changed to Phoenix Rising. Is that the name of it?
Did you see why they did that? Yeah.
They reckon it was because of the tone and aesthetic of the game, but they were getting sued somewhere.
They got sued by Monster.
Yeah.
Dead serious. They got sued by Monster. Fucking Monster.
Which,
fuck Monster.
Surely Monster would not win that.
No, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Anyway.
I think the case they were going for is because they sponsor video games like esports, and that's where the tie was coming in, but you're not going to win that argument. That's just silly. So yeah, I think I'll talk about this more next week when I've had a chance to spend more time with it, because I really can't add much to it at this point. It's like you said, it's pretty slow. It's not doing like the Zelda thing where you kind of just start and you go off and start killing things. It's pretty much like a handheld tutorial.
I'm very very much wondering. All these people who say it's like Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Did they play Breath of the Wild? Like, what? So, because you can climb? Is that what it is? Like, oh yeah, there's climbing. So it's like Breath of the Wild. All right, fair enough. I guess that was it. I haven't seen. I'm not getting mad Breath of the Wild vibes at this point. Like it'd be like saying a burrito's like a taco, right?
Yeah, it's got tomato in it.
Yeah, right. Like tomato mince. What the fuck do you want? Speaking of disgusting Mexican food, I made, and just to clarify to our many Mexican listeners, I love Mexican food. I love it. But I made the Taco Bell Crunch Wrap Supreme at home. And little word of advice. First of all, do not make yourself 2 Taco Bell Crunch Wraps Supremes. That is way too much food. And secondly, definitely make yourself at least 1 Crunch Wrap Supreme, because holy shit, man, those things are amazing. They're so fucking tasty. It's like you get a burrito wrapper. It'd be even easier for you to do it because you have ready access to all this shit. Here in Australia, I got to make up so much of the recipe on my own because we don't have any of this shit. It's like, oh yeah, go down to your local, whatever bodega and buy burrito wrappers, tostada shells, like ancho chili, and you're like, all right, I can't get that. I can't have that. That doesn't exist. You're like, okay, well, here's what I've got. Here are my closest alternatives, and you got some fucking like home brand version of the Contract Supreme, and it's still amazing. But yeah, you should do it, Luke.
Or the wrap like falls apart and then breaks in half.
Like,
no, we've got tons of Mexican around here, so it's easy to just order it and it shows up 20 minutes.
Can you order a Contract Supreme?
Probably.
Can you? I will allow it if you order a Contract Supreme. Cram some Skittles into it. I will accept that as your Skittles spaghetti.
I don't know where to get Skittles from around here.
What the? You've got like enough fucking Mexican places that you can randomly order a fucking Crunchwrap Supreme, but you can't fucking buy some Skittles?
Yeah. I'd have to find a Safeway or something.
Why wouldn't Whole Foods have one?
Whole Foods is all organic food. They don't do that stuff.
They don't have any candies. Are you fucking kidding?
No, they don't. I mean, you can go get like chocolate and that's probably about it, but it's like all organic chocolate.
What kind of wanker shit is this? What if you just want to eat some junk?
You can't.
Go to a liquor
Whole
store.
Foods. Where?
A liquor store or a pharmacy.
To find Skittables? What are you talking about? Walgreens.
Trader Joe's.
Skittles.
Trader Joe's?
I don't. It's not our local. I don't. They might have some.
Order some off Amazon.
I think there's 3 Whole Foods that are closer to me than Trader Joe's. Yeah, I can order them off Amazon.
You fucking better.
All right, let's move on to Star Wars Squadrons. Star Wars.
Hang on, let's take a quick cheeky break.
Yeah. Why? What are you doing? Bye-bye. Why don't you want to sit in there? All right, you good?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Star Wars Squadrons is now out. We've been playing it a lot. I've been playing a lot. You've been playing a lot?
Oh, yeah. Been playing a lot.
I might let you go first because you'll be probably a lot more positive than me. But
all right.
And then we'll go from there.
All right. Hang on. I had a sneeze.
Okay. 1. Will it come through on RTX? Oh, it definitely did.
Fucking hell. Oh, shit. I tried to hold that one in, but that was coming out.
Yeah. You got to wipe your camera now.
I'm gonna wipe my entire fucking. I need a fucking hose in here.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Star Wars Squadrons. new game out late last week is a spiritual successor to the X-Wing vs TIE Fighter series. Puts you in the fucking cockpit of X-Wings, TIE Fighters, TIE Bombers, TIE Reapers, A-Wings, U-Wings, Y-Wings, I don't know, other wings, all the things, everything. I think what am I? TIE Interceptor as well. Yeah. So there's 4 ships on each side, and it is a Star Wars dogfighting game. Hang on one sec. Thank you. Donut delivery. Yeah, it's a Star Wars dogfighting game. That is probably the most compelling VR experience I've ever had in my entire fucking life. It is, yeah, probably the best argument for getting VR that I've ever experienced, provided you are a fan of Star Wars, of course. But yeah, playing through the prologue, you start in a TIE Fighter, you switch to an X-Wing. The moment when I switched to an X-Wing, I was playing with my Vive headset on, and yeah, fucking that moment was holy shit, like strong. It was a big moment because I think I've literally had dreams sitting in that cockpit, and obviously other games have put you in that seat before. It's like there's actually a long history of games doing it, but never before had I felt, the trick of it. The real trick is that transition. If you had started in the X-Wing, as opposed to starting in the TIE Fighter, if you'd started in the X-Wing, I think it wouldn't have been as powerful a moment. But because you start in the TIE Fighter and then you've got that fade to black and that slow transition into the X-Wing, it's so monumental. And yeah, it like full blown got to me, like fucking some emotional shit. So that was pretty awesome. And then immediately, like directly, I was planning on continuing to play through the storyline, and I have played since. But in that moment, I think Nate jumped on and Drew jumped on, and we started playing some multiplayer. Started playing dogfights, and yeah, didn't get the opportunity to really play more prologue after that because yeah, we were just playing dogfights. And that is some shit in and of itself. It's the first time I played a multiplayer game, where I felt like VR wasn't just useful. Well, no, like forget that. Like it felt like VR gave me an advantage, but more than that, like it's the first time where I played a game where VR actually felt like it had any purpose at all, or wasn't actively a detriment to my game. And I think that's a big deal as well. But yeah, largely, I just enjoyed myself. I mean, yeah, like I put up a feature, or I think I titled it as review because we didn't have a category tag for feature, but yeah, I put up a feature on the gapodcast.com and on my YouTube channel, talking about why I think VR is so spectacular in Star Wars Squadrons. And it's just, I edited it together. I'm quite proud of this video. One of my favorite things I did, that I'm sure almost nobody noticed, because it's, watching it back, it's way more subtle than it was in the editing. But one of the things I did is up until I start specifically talking about the VR experience, all of the game footage is without VR. And then when I start talking about the VR experience, all of that footage from then on is played with VR, is recorded with VR headset on. Yeah, far more subtle, because I think also Squadrons does a good job of the subtle momentum of the viewpoint when not in VR. Like if you turn and stuff, your character's head will shift a little bit, so it's not like a static screen moving around. It is sort of like a head that shifts in space. Anyway, yeah. Happy with the video. One of the things I mentioned is that, yeah, I think as a multiplayer game, there's depth in the sense that anytime you have a like dogfighting game, right? Every dogfighting game by default has depth. And then you put one in zero gravity and the depth increases even more, because the concept of up doesn't exist. There is no up. And so you have to define space in a true 3D environment, which is difficult for communication, for your own spatial awareness, all these kinds of things that just by default, that it will never be easy to learn just from the outset for anyone who doesn't have a basic concept of that stuff. But that said, there is depth like beyond that as well.
But I think like the most simplest form of that is the depth of the 3D of inside of VR is hard to convey, and you sort of get those moments in some games. But when you like the first time you're inside the hangar bay of inside of Star Wars, like that's where you can see the depth of the game, like in terms of visually, like how far away something is. When you're looking at that on a screen, or it doesn't matter what game it is, first person shooter, whatever, like it doesn't, you can't get that sense. But as soon as you put in VR and then you're in an actual 3D world, like you're in that hangar bay and you can see all the way down the back, even though this screen is right in front of your face, that's not what it looks like. Like you can see everything around you, and it's nuts. Like that's what VR does so well, is that it puts you in that world. It's like, I think it's really hard to convey without getting in there and using it, which is why it's so hard to put that in front of people.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's why VR will always be a really difficult sell. I think it's something about like the ability to move your head back and forth. I think we naturally do that quite a lot, and as people, we've like sort of accustomed ourselves to the very subtle movements that our heads do at all times.
And when you do that, objects within your view, like you see the perspective behind them change because of the depth. You see things that are closer, you sort of see around them, and as you move your head around, like, because that's just the way things work. And that's when you get that feeling. When I first got in that hangar, and you like, all it is a fucking menu, basically, the hangar, but you can just sit there and look around and like see off in the distance, right at the back of the hangar, things happening that you don't really pay attention to if it's on a computer screen, because it doesn't fucking matter. But that's completely different when you're in a VR world, because this is all in front of you. You feel like you're there.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't know how any other game will ever do something like that, you know?
Well, I mean,
like
Half-Life does it. Like the moment you drop into that game, the menu is like that as well.
But like, I mean, in
scale.
Certainly in sense of scale. I mean, in sense of putting you into somewhere you never thought you'd been. You'd be. That's like, I mean more in like a artistic sense, as opposed to the certainly not to take anything away from Half-Life, Alex. Although I know I liked it less than some people. But yeah, like I don't have the same connection to the Half-Life universe that I do to the Star Wars universe on any level. Not even fucking close. Gameplay wise, Squadrons is a little bit trickier to analyze in terms of the experience of playing. It's a phenomenal game. But in terms of the gameplay itself, if I separate my experience from the VR and sort of draw back to what it is at its core, I would say overall, I don't like Star Wars. I don't like most of Star Wars Squadrons. I don't think the storytelling is very good.
It's bad.
Like it's just cliche, you know. It's sort of generic. I think the fleet battles is bad. I do not like fleet battles. I think they're poorly explained, poorly defined, and sort of a little bit too like samey, like repetitive. You just sort of do the same thing over and over and over again until someone has succeeded.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit susceptible to one of those things I always hate in like every multiplayer game, where every team multiplayer game, where your personal efforts sometimes aren't reflected in the success of your team. Like you will just fail despite your best efforts, and you can have some fucking heroic best efforts and you'll still lose in a fleet battle, and it just doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, because one person in your team
about
is getting killed constantly or something like that.
Yeah. Or it's not even playing.
Which is how that
just
works.
Straight AFK. But dogfights, with the exception of Yavin is flat out the shittiest fucking map I've ever seen in a multiplayer game, in a professionally created multiplayer game.
Can you call it a map though?
It's a skybox, right? It's a fucking skybox, and that's it.
It's a test environment. Like, where developers dump a bunch of shit and they're like playing around with it. They're like, let's make this a map. Like, we don't have to. But put it's not even
like even if we were to give them that much, like, oh yeah, so they just fucking they didn't even texture the skybox well, because like fucking 60% of it is bright orange, and the marker when there's enemies nearby, like the marker defining your enemies is bright red, and bright red on bright orange is fucking invisible. So there is a giant chunk of this fucking environment where you can't see anything, because you're like, you begin dogfights at largely beyond visual range, and these sensors are what guide you into like managing the dogfights. And like, you basically have to, like, at that point, there's a giant portion of Yavin where you directly navigate based on what your fucking radar screen is telling you. It's like fucking NBA 2K jump meter of fucking Star Wars games, where you just like, well, I'm in a spaceship. I'm playing VR spaceship game in the Star Wars universe, the absolute fucking dream, like young Joab's dream. And meanwhile, this fucking like, all I'm looking at is a tiny circle on about fucking 4% of the screen, where all I can see is, there's a dot there, so I should probably start trying to target now, because I think they must be in front of me now. I can't see them because it's red on red
there.
There's a space cloud, but like, they must be there. And holy shit. So it's not even good as a fucking test box with a fucking picture painted on it, with a skybox painted on. It's just awful. It is shit-tastic. The rest of dogfights amazing. I would play it over and over and over again, and I have been all weekend. I fucking really enjoyed myself.
I think the best
It
map
is,
that I've played is the asteroid one. That's I think
yeah,
my favorite, just because it sort of fits with the style of gameplay of like fast paced dogfighting action, but there's also cover basically everywhere, and I've not
yeah,
had an issue flying into things. Like when you think about debris everywhere and giant asteroids and that sort of thing, like, oh, you've got to try and navigate that stuff, but you can, but you feel like you've got enough control over that ship that you're not going to hit that stuff unless you accidentally like do a 180 and ram back into something. Um, and so I think that's the best sort of showcase of that multiplayer mode on those maps is that specific. I don't know what the map's called, but like it's just so well
it's
done.
certainly the most
'Cause
fun to play on,
yeah,
like in terms of competitiveness. But I think my favorite map is probably it's the one with the giant space station in it, like
yeah,
the
right,
hollowed out space station. I find that one to be the most fun
yeah,
to actively like. I just, well, it's not, maybe not the most fun. My favorite to be on though, because it just thematically is the most
sure.
impressive. But yeah, no, I enjoy, like, I've had so many games on the Meteor one. I only know the name of the oven because I know I
You don't
need to
want to play
know
it.
so that
Yeah,
we can bail out. Yeah, basically, I've
yeah.
left games on Yahoo, like straight
But
up.
I think the
I just
problem,
leave games on Yahoo.
my biggest issue with the multiplayer is that I don't think it's well designed in terms of the dogfighting, because it's this snowball effect of a game where if um, it's 5 versus 5, that's all you can do. When somebody on your team dies or you die, you get sort of put into a spectator screen for about 10 to 15 seconds. And then you can respawn back into the game and join the fight, which is usually on the outskirts of the map. It'll fly you
Just
back
to
in.
clarify, that's the thing is the problem that Dogfights has, the specific problem, and the solution is not that you can respawn in, it's that you do respawn.
Mm.
You don't have a choice. You do have a choice in AI in the AI fleet battles. You can opt when to respawn, or you can opt to not respawn immediately.
Yeah,
But you
and where to
can't do
respawn.
that in dogfights. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In dogfights, you just randomly respawn somewhere on the map after your time is up, regardless of whether or not you want to. And so there is A, the death balling, and B, the streaming, the issue where after you, like, you've got that trickle where your team will just sort of trickle in back into the
One
fight,
at a
but
time.
their death ball is still there,
Yeah,
and
it's
so that
five
they sort
versus
of,
one. So it's 5 people
exactly,
shooting at one thing, and you just go downhill from there because that's what all of a sudden a game that was 5-5 is now 20-5 because you're
yeah,
getting spawned in and the team is just automatically shooting at you. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the biggest design flaw of the combat, I think. And you end up with games that are pretty good and others that are just like a 5-man squad that because the game's got no matchmaking, you end up with like a team full of people that it's their first games versus people that are like level 30. You're like, all right, cool.
yeah,
Like 5 level 30 people versus some newbies.
yeah.
And you're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. It's not, I don't think it's well designed.
Although that's why I like that Meteor map, because I had a game where I was the last one alive
Yeah.
on the like against the team that got deathballed. Against the team that deathballed, and I was the
Hmm.
last one alive. And I took these 5 motherfuckers who were shooting me the entire time. I was in
Yeah.
X wing, A wing, full shields, and to soak up to double my regen, and then full engines and shields to rear, and then just took them on a fucking merry old chase through some fucking space rocks
Mm.
until my team managed to respawn back in and we could reverse the death ball. That was fucking awesome, and I haven't done that on any other map. You can only really do that on the Meteor map,
Yeah.
which is why I do think it is probably the best designed one.
Yeah.
But
Because
yeah,
it puts
like,
separation between you and everyone else because there's cover. Whereas the other
Yeah.
games, it's space. So there's just literally you fly out in fucking space and you
Yeah.
can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like that is definitely a flaw of the game, but it's not a deal breaker for me. It feels like it's a bit of a learning situation.
Sure.
Sorry, there's a dude outside my window on the balcony above me, and he keeps like talking extremely loudly and leaning over the balcony.
I can't
And we
hear.
made eye contact like twice now, and it's fucking weird. Anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah. So it feels like it's a situation where like it's a learning issue where the more as players learn and learn, like it's never going to be alleviated thanks to what appears to be the lack of
Support.
robust matchmaking. But
I was going to say support because they're not. From what they're saying, there's no DLC.
it's done.
There's no
Yeah,
updates.
it's finished, right?
Like they're
Yeah,
done. I
which is
think they're
pretty
going to
odd.
change their tone pretty quickly, but maybe not.
Uh,
Like, is this game worth playing anymore at this stage? If that's what they're going to do, not support it anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. That I did see that early today, and yeah, like it's a one and done game, but it's a multiplayer focused game. Like you
Right.
would imagine that it would probably need support over time to justify its existence.
I mean, was this there? We need to put one Star Wars game out a year, so there we go. We're done. It's out.
Maybe. Like holy shit, maybe. That's a bit of a bummer. My favorite VR game is a contractual obligation. Is that what's that an indictment of? Star Wars games in general or VR games in general? It's hard to tell. Something's coming off pretty poorly in this one. I'm not sure what it is. But yeah.
Should we talk about the technical issues while we're at it? Let's do it.
What technical issues?
So they ended up fixing they've rolled out one patch which fixed VR support and crashing. I never had that problem, but I think a lot of people haven't. It was sort of just crashing at certain points, people using VR.
Right.
Anyway,
I had Steam VR crashing, but that wasn't that big a deal. It didn't take down the game, and I would just restart Steam VR and it would be fine.
Yeah. The one of the big ones is the HOTAS support. So they've obviously been a big supporter of people bringing in their fancy flight sticks and throttles into this game, and they've officially supported a handful of them, except they've done a poor job of implementing that. The biggest one being that there's a dead zone issue with the joysticks.
Yeah,
I'm having it with mine, which is an officially supported HOTAS kit. I don't know what you call them for the game. Yeah. So the dead zone issue is that like you use your joystick and you move it in a direction and nothing happens. Like it just doesn't move. And then you get to a point where eventually the thing starts moving. The idea is that like the more you move it in a direction, the more it's supposed to sort of gradually turn the vehicle or the spaceship. And so once you move it 100% to the right or left, that'll be like quickly turning. And if you move it a little bit to the right or left, then you'll get a little bit of movement. Same sort of way as if you're using like a controller and the analog sticks, right? But for whatever, the middle is kicking in like somewhere around the 50% mark, and so you end up with this situation where you move the stick and like nothing is happening, and you move it to about 40%, nothing's still happening. So they've got these dead zone issues with the HOTAS stuff. Some people are coming around with workarounds, which means they're updating like profiles and sort of like the graph, the way that works. But like I basically went back to, I'm playing on a controller, and I think that's probably the best way to play this game, mainly because it's an in-between of like the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, or those really hardcore Star Wars flight simulator games, and somewhere between like a Rogue Squadron. It's in the middle. It's arcadey, but it's not as deep as those flight simulator games. And so I think it's cool that they've given you the ability to use that equipment in this game.
Yep.
But at this stage, I'm not feeling any advantage. And that could be because of the dead zone issues, and I've just had such a fucking terrible time playing. But also the other issue is because I'm using a throttle, the way that the throttles work is there is resistance when you pull that throttle back and forwards. The throttle is the accelerate and decelerate. And so unless you tie that to a button, you're going to have a tougher time accelerating and decelerating in this game. So I think that's an issue. My mappings were completely busted when I started it up. It was basically my joystick seemed okay. The throttle was all over the place. I'd say 50% of the buttons weren't mapped, and that caused an issue with the campaign. Because when you start learning the campaign, it's like, hey, press this button to do this and press this button to do that. I got an error that came up and said, your button is not mapped. To continue this, check your mappings and then restart the checkpoint. And so I went into my my mappings, and as I said, like 50% of them weren't set, and it's stuff that I don't know what I should be setting it to. And so I was like, oh, okay. It looks like my throttle is not set. So my actually like throttle the vehicle up and down wasn't actually mapped to something. It was mapped to a dial on my HOTAS, so like a thing you spin. So I changed that to the throttle, and then it got me past that section. I was like, all right, this is how you accelerate, decelerate. And then it came up again. Oh, one of your buttons isn't mapped. You need to restart the checkpoint and, set the buttons. And I'm like, it's not telling me what button's not set, but it's just telling me that one of my buttons to continue this tutorial is not set. And I was just like, fuck it. Like, I can't sit here and map 50 buttons that I don't know what is going to do. Like, generally, I've talked about this before, when you play these types of games, because this thing has like 130 fucking buttons on it, that's when you get really hardcore community members that are like setting profiles, and they'll give you like a layout sheet of like what buttons do what. Like it's a little picture, like you press this button and it does this. And for me to sit there and go through that entire setup with stuff that I don't actually know what it does yet, is just a huge pain. Like for them to say they support this hardware and then not map all those buttons is just so strange to me. And then not map them correctly. Like, why is my throttle on a fucking dial wheel? Like, that's just... I can understand it in sense of wanting me to accelerate and decelerate really quickly. But when I have a VR headset on, I'm not finding that button for the fucking life of me. Like, where am I finding that button? You could pay me $1,000 to try and get it first go, and I probably would fucking botch it up on the first 5 tries because I don't know where I'm putting my hand. It's dumb. Like, my throttle should be the fucking throttle. That is what it's there for. And so I immediately went back to my controller, and I think it's a better experience probably playing with the controller anyway, just because of the nature of the arcadiness of it, and the things you can do.
I started out trying to play on the PlayStation 4 controller, and eventually went to the Xbox One controller. Because the PlayStation 4 bindings, what was weird was that by default it all seemed to work, but and I think we talked about this last week. I don't need to know, like, it doesn't need to tell me what button is what, right? Fucking circle doesn't need to like say circle. It can say B or fucking A or 3 or whatever the fuck, right? It doesn't need to say circle for me to know to press the circle in a game. But in this case, it seemed like it was all mapped correctly and it just had weird names for it. But then after a little bit of play, it turned out that it was recognizing my PlayStation 3 controller as a flight stick. And so it wasn't recognizing a bunch of the inputs because they didn't functionally exist. And that was extremely confusing until I worked out how to to get that sorted, which involved I had
Yeah.
to add Squadrons as a Steam game, but like as a non-Steam game, Steam game, so that it could use the like Steam mappings for the PlayStation controller.
Right.
Because before that, initially how I got it working was I had to open up Big Picture and then open up Steam VR. Except no, I had to open up Steam VR and then open up Big Picture, because if I did it in the other order, then you couldn't open up Steam VR once Big Picture was open, but you can do the reverse. And Big Picture is how like it sort of overrides everything and allows you to use a PlayStation 4 controller. For some reason it's not natively supported. Even though it's plug and play, it's not natively supported.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
Well, so that's the problem with this sort of setup, is that like you plugging your throttle and joystick, and it's like press button 24 to enable free view, and you're like, what button's 24? Like I said, there's like 130 buttons on this thing, and I don't know what it is. Like, what's button 24? The way that Microsoft Flight Simulator got around that is that the officially supported HOTAS devices, they would put like a little image on the screen, and you could look at it and be like, oh, that's what I've got. And button 24 is this one here, and it's got like an arrow pointing to it, or it's like red and flashing, and you're like, oh, cool, I know what I'm supposed to press. Whereas in this game, it's like press button 24, and I'm like, all right. So I just start pressing buttons. Like, I'm just pressing, no, it's none of these ones. It's none of this one.
How many could there be?
Yeah. And so I'm spinning the dial over here.
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And eventually, like, I press something and it fucking, the jets take off. I'm like, okay, cool. That is how I enable that thing. And so it just ends up being like 20 minutes of me in this tutorial pressing random buttons, because I don't know what button. Like, now it's saying press button 45. And anyway, it's just implemented very poorly. Like, they didn't, it's not like they put out, oh, here's our officially supported devices. Here is our button maps that you can use, and you can print them off, or you put them on your screen next to you so you can play it while, you know, it's there. No, none of that stuff. Just like a page dump of, you know, here's your button control layouts, and there you go. Good luck. It's not done well at all. It's bad. The other thing, the technical problems, is the frame rate in the actual game is completely busted for whatever reason, and it looks like they're putting a patch out maybe tomorrow for this, but it's not running at the designated frame rate that you actually select in the game for the most part. If you're playing the game with a high frame rate monitor, or even VR headset this is happening with, it'll tell you that it's running at that frame rate, but the game is, by far, it is not. So I've got a 144 hertz monitor, and the game says it's running at 144. And for the most part, like the cockpit stuff and like certain things within the environment are running at 144, but the actual gameplay is not running at 144. It's running more at like somewhere between 30 and 60, and it's not 60. I guarantee you.
What do you mean? Hang on. The cockpit stuff and some of the other stuff with the gameplay?
So like the hangar and the menus are running at 144, and the game is telling you it's running at 144, but the gameplay, like, it is not running at 144. It's running
once you're in the cockpit and flying.
The animations look like they're still running at 144. Like the cockpit could be, but the stuff outside of that is not running at 144. It's running at like 30, maybe 40 something. And so this is probably the highest thing on the technical list in terms of that I've seen on Reddit and the discussion forums, where people have been trying to figure out how to fix it. And the way that you can fix it at the moment, which is how I fixed it, was you change your frame rate down to 60, and that'll make everything run at 60. So I can't play it except for VR. I can't play it in VR still because it hurts my fucking eyes. Like, my eyes hurt when I'm playing this game because it's not running at, I don't know what my headset is. I think it's like 90 hertz. 80. Should be around there. 80. And I thought it was busted because I first started playing this game in VR, and I turned down like a bunch of the settings, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this doesn't feel like it's working properly. until eventually I just gave up on the headset after a couple of missions and went across to the main game, and I'm like, it's still running like shit in here. Like, what is going on? And I looked into it more, and it was like the number one complaint on Reddit. Well, the two complaints were the HOTAS issues and the frame rate issues. And people were like, oh, you just jack your frame rate down to 60 and that'll cap it like at 60, but at least it's working. So I've got it running at 4K 60 now, like flat 60. It looks amazing. And as far as I'm aware, they've said they're working on the problem, and there should be a patch to fix that tomorrow. So it's only affecting high frame rate monitors, and I think it's happening to you as well. You just maybe haven't noticed it, because I watched your video back, and unless you goofed something with your video, it's definitely not running properly, because that's what my game looks like.
Right. Can you take some? I don't know how screenshots
some proper
work. Videos. Make sense. Like, well, just point out to me what I'm missing here, because normally
did you render your video at 30 frames per second, or do you run it at 60? Because when I go to YouTube, it's saying it's running at 60, but that's not 60.
I rendered it at 60, but that's not 60. Just I've got like a no. I don't think it. I don't know what it out that. I've got a custom preset in Premiere that just auto does it to. Because there's all these other little settings you got to do in fucking YouTube that I don't want to dick about with every single fucking time. So I just click on the custom preset.
Because YouTube says it's 60.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, the output of Premiere is 60. Definitely 60.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I don't know what the same recording was. Right. Like,
because when I watch it, normally I'm like, that is what mine looks like when it was busted. And I'm like, it hurts my eyes in VR because it's just very jarring to see it like that. As soon as you change it and it's working, you're like, holy shit, this game runs amazing. Like, it looks great. I'm running it. It looked like ass in VR. Like, it doesn't look like a good looking game. But as soon as I got rid of the I don't know why it looks like crap, because I've got a 1440p VR headset. Just everything looked bad. The frame rate was terrible. And then eventually, now I'm running at 64K and it looks amazing. But it's like the fact that this game was released in this state is bonkers.
Like, honestly, yeah, I think I'm more susceptible to fucking frame rate issues in VR than you are, so I'm surprised that I didn't notice.
I reckon after this, you fire it up and have a look and see what your settings are at, and then see if they're set at 144 or whatever your monitor is.
I believe it's uncapped.
Yeah, that's what mine was. Drop it down to 60 uncapped. And then fire it back up and see what it looks like. Because you can't. You have to. Oh, you're gonna have to do it without VR though, because you can't change it in VR.
Right. Yeah.
I'll send you some video of my game, what it looks like in 60. Compare it to yours in 30. It looks like it's 30. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know.
Anyway,
doesn't make me want to spew though. So I'm okay.
Like, I'm hoping this patch comes out tomorrow and that's on the list of things they fixed. Because then I'll jump back in with the VR. Because at this stage, like, it looks impressive in VR, like when you first jump in, but I couldn't play it. It was just like moving around too quickly, and it was like all blurry, and I don't think it looked good in VR compared to what I expected. So yeah,
right.
I'm sure we'll talk about it again next week, but it's just I don't understand how it was released in that state. And
you should try and play with us, because as far as I can tell, we exclusively get dumped on US servers anyway. I don't know if there's fucking Aussie servers for this game. I do not think I've played a game where I felt like I had good ping.
Yeah,
I feel and when we get randos, they always have American accents.
Oh, yeah, we can check. There's ways.
Yeah, obviously,
I can check that as a ex-server engineer. I had a Russian dude in my game the other day. It was very interesting. Oh, yeah. Just muted. He was talking extremely loudly at someone
and trying to like alter the outcome of the election. So you're like, well,
yeah,
honest.
Possibly.
I mute everyone in every game now, like except for people in the Discord with me. And half the time I want to mute them because it's fucking Heath and he just won't shut the fuck up.
Right. I guess I'm interested in playing with a team just to see how the sort of different flight or the different sort of dynamics work in terms of like support and attack classes and bombers, like how that plays out. Because I've tried a couple of games where I just go like support and I'll be like healing people and ion cannons and that sort of thing. Because I think that'd be interesting, and putting like turrets around and that sort of stuff. But
no, you can't do that. You can't do that because I did that for a daily quest, and then Squirrel got a bunch of kills, and he wouldn't shut the fuck up about it for the rest of eternity. Because I was iron cannoning these enemies, and he would then finish them off, and he was like, "Greatest! Oh, hey, I'm the best! Oh, I'm so good at the game now!" And it's like, yeah, okay. So you finally managed to kill anything at all, despite having, I think his kill death ratio is 0.43. I think he said 0.43 is. I didn't even know that got that low. I was embarrassed because my win loss ratio is 0.45, despite having a kill death ratio of 1.5 something. Like, I do my best, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you can't do support. What we do is we all go in A wings, and then we just deathball.
Do you
Me
use
and
the
Nate are
rapid fire?
especially good. No, we were, but we switched off it because it's just easier if, like, you don't need it when there's 3 people all single target focused.
Oh, but just think about it. If everybody's got rapid fire, I think that's broken. It must be broken because I got that in the campaign. I'm like, this is dumb. This is so. Why would you go anything else?
Very clear balancing issues on some of the things, on some of the weapons and some of the weapon combos. But yeah, like as we worked out more and more of how to like effectively communicate, we just became a more efficient team. I think we won a game 30-3 or something. It cannot have been like fun.
Yeah. Like there's stuff in there that playing on a controller makes me think there's probably buttons on the OTAS that would allow me to do things that other people wouldn't normally, like being able to select the target in front of me as opposed to just next target. Because it's got this radial
left trigger.
But doesn't that just select the next thing in your list?
No, A selects the next one.
What does left trigger do? I can't remember. I haven't played it for like 3 days. Does left trigger select the thing that you're pointing at?
Yeah, left trigger selects your target in front. A selects your next target in range.
Right.
Depending on your targeting like objective preferences.
Yeah. In the
that
radial.
You selected on the radial. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then just things like the diverting power to shields or armor. It's kind of like one or the other. I think there's probably some settings you can tweak in the HOTAS settings to be like, oh, I want to put 10% into power, 10% more like increments, which is how the old school games used to work. You could either like set them to full or 50% or increments. And
it looks like there's enough increments that you could actually do all that as well.
Because it's listed there, right? It's on
exactly right.
The little notches. Yeah. Like I think all that stuff is really good. The way it like displays that information for you in the UI, like it's an actual like HUD, like it's stuff in the vehicle. Like here is your acceleration, and here is your like I don't know what they call it, but like the sweet spot of the vehicle. Like if you set your acceleration to here or your throttle, this is your optimal point to be able to turn the vehicle or spaceship. I don't know what you call it. Like if it's set here, that's the most you're going to get in terms of turning. If you decelerate any more, you're not going to get quicker turning. Like that's just not going to do anything. Like stuff in the UI that would be usually something on like in a first person shooter, just be on the screen, like as an icon, whereas this is like in the environment. You can see it there. It's working well. So like I like that sort of stuff, how it's all set up, and everything's got like a universal language to it. It's not like in the X-Wing, it's not different to like a TIE fighter. Like it's all sort of very similar in terms of its look. So its language is pretty well done. But like I think it's a fine game. Like it's not doing anything that blows me away. It's not really the thing that the hardcore X-Wing versus TIE fighter fans wanted, but it's also not the thing that the the Rogue Squadron people wanted. It's very much a bit in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I think the thing that tops it off for me is just that campaign is just not good. That's the biggest letdown, is that for the people that played those classic X-Wing Alliance games and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and that sort of stuff, like you played those games for the campaign, because that's how awesome those things were. And it was like
Almost
this,
all you had as well.
yeah, and they were really good, interesting, unique stories and missions. Like the first missions would always be, it wouldn't be about dogfighting. It'd be like scanning fucking canisters to find like spice in them or something like that, right? And then eventually it'd ramp you up to fighting giant starships and like taking out shield generators and like like power systems, like kind of what this game does. But in Squadrons, you kind of just, you go from dogfight to fleet battle to dogfight. Like that is every mission over and over again. There's no it's a very action paced game, you know what I mean? It's just very one note. You're just doing the same thing every single mission from one after the other, and there's no variety there. But that's because that the game is just not that hardcore flight simulator experience. It's very much a action focused game, and so the people that wanted that aren't really going to get much out of it because the story is just so bland as well. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just
Talking
think
about it next week when you've got VR working in a way that doesn't make you want to spew, I guess.
yeah, it doesn't even want to
'cause,
spew. I'm just
honestly,
like my eyes are on fire watching this. Just
right.
like, why is everything so slow?
Because yeah, like I don't know, man. Like played it way longer than I should have. I dreamt in Star Wars, which I haven't done in fucking decades. Like yeah, it was phenomenal. I know I key it all to the VR, like just that huge an experience. It was fucking amazing.
Right.
But yeah, I guess yeah, it depends on whether or not it's working in a way that you can stomach.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they roll that out soon, because this patch, because if it ends up being a thing where they takes them a couple weeks to fix, at that stage, it ain't
Right.
It ain't worth it. Especially if they're not going to roll out any more content. Like if they're done with this game, which
I really hope they're not done. That'd be
I believe they're going to change their mind, right?
I feel like this game has so much fucking potential.
Yeah, but at this stage, it might be too late as well. Like if they've already made the decision not to do any more updates, and if they
100%.
start now, like
yeah,
hey, we're going to roll out new ships. How long is that going to take? Like 3 or 4 months?
Yeah,
and then it's too late.
Yeah,
like it's the type of thing where you plan for it to be a live service game, and then 3 weeks from now, hey, here's 2 new ships.
Hold back your Yavin map.
Yeah, here's Yavin's gone.
I mean, shit, Fall Guys made basically the same fucking mistake, right? Like, I mean, we did actually say this would happen ahead of time.
Right.
But like, yeah, like we were saying before it came out, if they didn't have a regular schedule of like content updates, then it was going to get stale pretty quickly, and it was going to fall off. And that is essentially exactly what's happened.
They've rolled out a couple of things, but for the most part,
like small things. But season 2 is only just either just started this week or starting next week, and that's one of those situations where you're like, well, yeah, it probably should have been sooner.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Fall Guys. I guess the one that's sort of taken over that as well is you think about Among Us, right? And how much did Among Us eating to the Fall Guys breakfast?
Oh, 100%. But I think that was it was a space that was, they were looking for something else to do, not necessarily they'd had enough of Fall Guys and were looking for something else to play. And if they'd still been having a good time with Fall Guys, then it wouldn't have been a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it sucks, man, because I feel like Squadrons has a good base for it to go off. It's just because the flying is just so good. It's just done so well. There's just bits in there that I'm like, I wish this was done a bit better. And you see you see some of the things you can do maneuvering those ships inside of like the map you were talking about with the spaceship, or just even around like the asteroid field that I was fighting in, cutting your engines and drift boosting and that sort of thing. Like that stuff is cool. You couldn't do that sort of thing in the old classic games, so they've put in some awesome, very arcadey maneuvers that showed up in like the Star Wars films, right? Like the sort of things you see in the films these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Go and watch my video if you want to see it in action, although apparently it's framier than I can see.
I'll go record some 60 FPS footage in
Yep.
4K and I'll show you what it looks like.
I still think it looks fucking out of this world. In my VR. I'm just I'm just fucking blown away.
Yeah. All right. Should we smash through some news quickly and
Let's do it.
get out of here? All right. First up, we've got Cyberpunk 2077. Some good news for once. It's coming out. It's actually coming out. It's gone gold.
Coming out.
Which means it's done at this stage.
Yes.
I know some people were very worried about this. I wasn't worried once we started seeing the marketing going up, because at that stage,
That horse is bolted.
yeah, they're pretty set. Once you see like marketing things going up and people spending a lot of money on fucking NBA finals ads,
yeah. As soon as you see an ad during the NBA finals, you're like, oh,
with Keanu Reeves in it. Like, all right, this game's definitely coming out this year.
Yeah. But yeah. I'm pumped. I know I know most people are similarly pumped, but it feels like we've been waiting for this one. It's been a year. It's been a bit of a year. And Cyberpunk feels like could be the light at the end of the tunnel. I think you're not supposed to go for the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. Whatever. A better analogy. Feels like the better analogy at the end of this sentence. Yeah. I'm excited. I can't fucking wait. I've been hanging out fucking so long to play it. I don't know if you've been seeing some of the leaks and stuff. The map got leaked and stuff like that. It looks like a very dense map. Like there's a lot of density to it, which I find exciting.
And also, you don't from that map, you don't get the verticality, right? Because that's one thing they've talked about is that it's not flat.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I meant by the density. Like
I haven't seen the map, so I don't know.
Right.
I thought you might have just meant that like there's a bunch of shit packed in. You're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's not like a Assassin's Creed map or some shit. Anyway, yeah, like it's one of those situations where we're almost on the home stretch. Like there's a month to go before, or a month and a half, I guess. A month and 10 days, right? A month and 11 days, actually, before it's out. So yeah, I mean, 6 weeks feels pretty close. I might be more excited about Cyberpunk than I am about the new console.
Yeah.
Than I am about the new consoles, to be honest, because it's something to actually play. Like, God knows I am excited for Demon Souls, but yeah, it's not a lot.
Demon Souls has that thing about it where you're like, is it gonna feel like an old game?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we haven't played it, it's not like, oh, remember this? Like when we were playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah.
Like you get that nostalgia thing, whereas we don't have that for Demon Souls, and so it could be just like, this game feels bad. Like it looks pretty.
Yeah.
Don't feel good. I guess
I can see why they changed this for Dark Souls. Yeah.
I can see why I can zipline everywhere now.
Yeah, anyway. Gone gold.
Nice.
One.
Next up, we've got some Marvel Spider-Man news. Peter Parker has been recast in the, I guess, franchise. So this one comes from the PlayStation blog. It says, in order to bring the best performances to players with our next generation Marvel Spider-Man games, we have recast the face of Peter Parker. We loved working with John Bubniak, I think that's how you pronounce it, on the original game. However, to get the best match to Peter Parker / Spider-Man actor Yuri Lowenthal's face capture, we have cast Ben Jordan to be the new face model for Peter Parker on the PlayStation 5 console. His looks incredible. Sorry, he looks incredible in the game, and Yuri's moving performances take on a new life. A lot of backlash about this, about this change. Like a lot,
didn't really
to the point where people working on the game were getting death threats, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, idiotic.
It's always ridiculous to do that sort of thing. Anyway, I guess I get a lot of the complaints span to this new face model looking a lot younger than what was originally cast, and a lot of people sort of pointing it towards looking a lot more like the current Marvel Spider-Man cinematic universe, Tom Holland take.
Yeah.
You've had a look. What's sort of your takeaways from what's going on here? Do you believe them?
I mean, it like I can't. Yeah, I honestly can't understand why it matters to people. Like, what is there to get upset about?
I think it's the attachment to this character's look from an established.
Spends 99% of his time in that game with a fucking mask over his head. How could it possibly fucking matter?
Right.
That is insanity. Like a full, not just a full face mask, a full fucking head mask. You cannot see his fucking head. It's just, it could be anyone. Why does it fucking, why would you send death threats over this? How fucking unhinged must you be? Why would you send death threats in general? But holy shit, over this? Like, motherfucker. Anyway.
The bit I do not believe is the reasoning behind it. To me sounds weird. I don't buy the reasoning that it's a better face match for him.
My guess was that like they couldn't get the original guy for some Miles Morales stuff, and they just figured it was easier to do it the other way.
I reckon it's a money thing. To me, that's where I'm going.
With the old Terrence Howard situation. Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle, War Machine.
Like, I think what would have settled me better is if they came out and they said, like, a technical fucking demonstration, like, here's what it used to look like, and here's what it looks like now. Not in terms of like it's side by side, like in the game. Like they're saying that the skeletal. I don't know how to say it. Like the skeletal, maybe, of the face did not match Yuri, who is the voice of very well-known video game voice actor. Doesn't match his face, and so they cast someone else that's similar. But then, do you then go recast everybody in that game at this stage because they don't match? Because there's plenty of people that do not have the same face shape as their characters in the game, and so I think that's where the line for me is kind of fuzzy. Like, I want to see the differences, or are you literally just making shit up?
Why can't Yuri's face?
Because he's old. He is like 40 something at this stage. He's the voice of the prince from the Prince of Persia.
But
he's not a 23-year-old.
It's a video game. You can make him look however the fuck you want.
Yeah, de-age him.
You can do whatever you want. It's just, like, have you seen The Irishman? Or fucking Samuel L. Jackson hobbling his way down some stairs in Captain Marvel?
I agree. Like,
young as shit.
That's why I just don't like.
I
don't
a bit
get
weird.
it. I understand they. You look at The Last of Us Part 2, right? They made Ellie look a bit more like the actress that plays her.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think like Joel looks exactly like the actor that plays him. And so I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I feel like it's a weird thing for them to come out and say, this is the reasoning, and then not provide any sort of like a demonstration of how this is better, as opposed to just be like, yeah, this is why. Because to me, it just sounds like it was a money thing. Like the original actor potentially wanted to get paid more because he was the face of it or something, or they couldn't get him back because something like, or they, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me because at this point, now I start being like, why don't you recast some of these other actors then? Because they don't look anything like their characters in the game. Like you've got the actress that plays Mary Jane does not look like the face model for Mary Jane, right? And so,
Yeah.
how far down this line do you end up going? It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's strange to me.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them recasting him. I just think the explanation is it doesn't make sense to me as to why they did it. So anyway,
Yep.
we will see how that turns out because they're obviously going ahead with it. Next up, more PlayStation news. Saw this one on Twitter the other day that PlayStation is changing the X and O buttons, which are the cancel and confirm buttons in Japan, to realign with the rest of the world. This is just something we talked about, I think, last week. Someone asked us a question about it.
Yeah.
Like, especially in Nintendo games where those buttons are mixed around. And
Yeah.
it's like that in Genshin Impact. When you play a controller, the cancel button is A, or I don't know. I'm using the Xbox controller.
X.
And
Yep.
yeah, and the the O button and X button are sort of like switched
Confirm.
around. And so every time I go into a menu, I cancel out of it instead of accepting something. I'm like, oh, and your attack button is different and you can't change it in that game. So hopefully this will fix those problems.
Can't use a controller on the mobile version. You have to use your giant fucking gorilla hands over 90% of your visual fucking viewable screen. So it's just a good game. Just a top-notch fucking game that
How do
I've
we get
uninstalled.
from PlayStation to shitting on that game again? I think the problem is you're playing it on mobile.
How is that my fault?
You have a perfectly good PC ready to go.
But it's a mobile game. That's why it's
Is
got
it?
gacha horse shit all throughout it.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Anyway.
Good change?
Do it. I mean, on the other hand, I don't know why it couldn't stay the same. I don't see how it matters one way or the other. Like, I don't know what this change is in aid of, but
I guess it's probably localization stuff, right? It's another thing they don't have to localize and test by switching those buttons around. I don't know.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But like, is it worth the backlash? I don't know. Like, I honestly
I feel
don't
like
care one way or the
Japan
other.
would just do it. They don't care.
Would I
Pretty chill.
care? That's the question is, right? Would I care if they switched it the other way?
Oh yeah, you'd care. You'd send death threats. But people in Japan, they don't care. They're happy. They're happy either way.
They're just happy to have a PlayStation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think they're upset. Not all of them, but some of them are upset. I've seen some reactions, some hilarious reactions. Someone called it cultural imperialization.
Right.
Which is about the weebiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, yeah, who cares? That's cool. Like we're 2 for 2, no, 2 for 3 rather on who cares news. We got something that I care about, or what? What do you got next?
No.
PlayStation 5 teardown. Did you watch this?
I did see this. Yes.
Holy,
it's a dude pulling apart
fuck.
a PlayStation for 10 minutes.
The size of this fucking thing. Holy fuck. It's it's bigger than Mech. This insanity. I've never seen anything like it. It's two giant fans on either side of the world's greatest heatsink. And the PlayStation 5 hardware itself is probably the size of a fucking matchbox, but it's just attached to all this heatsink shit so that it doesn't fucking... Because they've been so fucking... They've been roasted so seriously thanks to all the people talking about how the PlayStation 4 sounds like a jet engine. They're like, oh,
we'll
yeah?
Show that.
Well, PlayStation 5 is the size of a fucking house, but it's mostly heatsink, so it's going to be silence.
Yep.
Fuck you. Let's hear it now,
so
cunts.
hot.
What are you going to make fun of us for now, cunts? And immediately someone's like, do I need to get a new, do I need to install it in my home office so that I've got space to fit this fucking thing? They're like, fuck. They've always found something to roast us on. Every single time these motherfuckers find some little thing to give a shit about. And you're like, it's not a little thing because the PlayStation 5 is huge, cunts. And that's exactly how this goes down. Anyway, you can just plug an SSD into it when you want to expand your memory.
That's good.
You don't need to buy a proprietary SSD from Seagate. True story. The worst failure rate of any hard drives I've ever had, I had 3 Seagate hard drives die on me, and I've never bought a Seagate hard drive since. So
maybe one day.
Yeah. When I want to install Black Ops Cold War Warzone onto my Xbox, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to buy an expansion card so I can fit the fucking thing. Possible. Very possible. Anyway. So I thought it was cool. I don't know. They got liquid metal. Everyone's like, oh yeah, liquid metal. That's so interesting. I'm like, what the fuck is liquid metal?
Some Terminator stuff.
Yeah, like fucking Robert Patrick up in his bitch. Like, cool. I don't know what it does, but apparently it's very cool.
Yeah.
And that pun intended, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently it's very good as a cooling solution. It's better than thermal paste. Isn't thermal paste liquid metal?
Maybe.
I mean, it's metal, and
Is it metal?
Liquidy. Thermal paste, isn't it?
I thought it was just a metal color, like silver.
What, like silver? Let's look this up.
Yeah, let's spend time right now looking this up.
This is it. Don't like. Fuck off. Come on. Okay. No. What? Okay.
I don't think it is. I wrote
conductive paste.
Yeah, what is it made of?
Silicon based.
Yeah, you lose.
Oh no, there's a metal based. It's by far the most popular and effective thermal paste. Yeah, silver's a metal. And I've got a silver fucking thermal paste. Of course it is.
Color. It's not the.
No, it's actual silver. Fuckface.
Sure.
Metal thermal paste. Metal thermal paste. Okay, come on. Let's see this shit. What is conductive thermal paste? Made of thermal grismy. How the fuck is that helpful?
What color is your microphone, Joab?
It's metal. It's made of metal, cunt.
Plastic. It's
like my
plastic.
microphone is made of metal. Like, prove me wrong. I won't tap it because that'll be very annoying for people. But it is made of metal. There's no question that my fucking microphone is made of metal.
All right.
Is your microphone made of metal?
No, it's black.
All right. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. I saw this video go up, and the most disappointing thing for me was I wasn't able to write a news story about this anywhere, because my headline would have been like PlayStation VP voids warranty on PlayStation 5. And then just that.
Yeah.
Watch PlayStation VP void warranty on PlayStation 5. Because you know he did.
Jeez.
You know he did it.
Absolutely. There was one point where he was peeling off a sticker and there was like tiny little writing on it. I'm like, I bet if we could read it, it would say removing this sticker voids your warranty. 100%. Yeah.
I guess the cool thing we get a look of here is how easy it is to remove the enclosure, the actual like panels on the sides. And that has to mean they're doing like custom cases, right? You'd think if they're that easy to remove, we're going back to the days where I've got a
Modern Warfare 2 faceplate for my Xbox 360.
There you go. This is my Alan Wake. No one can see that. My Alan Wake Xbox 360 faceplate. Like we're going back. But that also means that you end up with these exclusive consoles of the bundles where they do the go spend $750 on the new Final Fantasy console, or but at the same time maybe they end up making more money by being like, hey, you can buy these faceplates and they're $50, something like that. Maybe they think they'll sell more.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it seems like a money-making idea. What faceplate would you get? You get a Spider-Man one.
Out of the launch games?
Like, just in general, if you get anything.
I don't know. It depends on what it looks like.
Spider-Man?
Maybe. Depends on what it looks like.
Batman.
I don't know.
Like, obviously, if it's a cool one.
Maybe. I don't know. It have to fit my aesthetic at home. I can't have a fucking giant, like, yellow and blue Cyberpunk looking thing sitting there, like, next to my TV, because people be like, what's that? The fridge? I'm like, no, it's a PlayStation. The fridge is on the other side.
Well, what's that? The monolith from fucking Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
How come half of your living room is taken up by like one giant yellow and blue thing? Yeah, that's my PlayStation 5. It has the square footage of Sydney apartment. It's pretty good. We had to
live in
hire. Yeah, we had to rent a new place just to fucking fit the thing into it, and then just run a HDMI cable from the place next door. It was bad for the family next door. We had to boot them out, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I can play Cyberpunk.
Yeah, and it won't sound like a jet engine. So finally, perfection.
Yep. All right, moving on. We got World of Warcraft Shadowlands has been delayed until the end of the year. So this was originally slated for this month. Being pushed back a little bit because they're still working on stuff. But in the meantime, they're going to be rolling out the pre-patch pretty soon, within the next week, which is usually the thing that sort of gears up to the main events, I guess. They start rolling out new updates and changes to the game and the world. Looks like it's not going to be too big of a wait. They haven't actually given a specific date yet, but probably before people go on holidays, I would say. Maybe November-ish. Sometime would probably be a good spot. They've rolled out Warcraft updates in November before, so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if this is like just a month delay. At this point. Anyway, I've been playing a bunch of Warcraft recently, gearing up for this, so I'm looking forward to it. It's good fun. I know you haven't played it for a while, so you're probably not going to check it out.
I'm probably not going to check it out. No. I think the delay was obviously a good thing. It's a difficult year for everyone, so anything that they can do to give them as much time as possible. I did see a road sign with the they had advertising while I was driving, and they had a big banner, billboard, electronic billboard, and it had the wrong date on it. I'm like, but it was like the day it had been announced. I'm like, boy, oh well, that's a bummer.
I mean, at least they didn't have Keanu up there, like
that's true.
Walking it off. They didn't waste that much money.
True.
It probably cost them $500 or something to put that billboard on. Anyway,
yeah.
Next up, we got the NBA 2K21 Next Gen gameplay reveal, which they did this on Twitter first, and then they chucked it up during the NBA Finals, which is a weird way to go about it, but sure thing. It goes for a couple minutes, and my goodness, this thing looks nuts. Like, it is
Yeah,
insane. Looks good.
it does. It is. I think what startled me the most was the hair, because I think hair has always been one of the weakest points in these games. It's probably like the dumbest thing to give a shit about, but I think it's just that uncanny valley sort of feature for me. Like,
Yeah.
I think they've done eyes really well, or at least the reflection of light off eyes, I think,
Mhm.
is one of the things they've nailed for a long time. But then, yeah, you pan away from this like tiny sliver of the face down to where their beard is, and fucking poor old Steph Curry looks like he's got mange in every basketball game for the last 7 years. And you're like, man can shoot though. Like, god damn, that is a bad beard. That's like, I think that's why LeBron and James Harden grew their beards out properly,
So
just
I can
so
go and
like,
fix it.
yeah, because it's easier to just do a bulk bunch of hair as opposed to 5 o'clock shadow in games just looks like garbage most of the time. But holy fuck, man, yeah, it looks fucking good,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
So they're talking about like
Very sweaty.
yeah, super sweaty. There's obviously a lot of stuff being done with crowd, and you can obviously see like the differences
Yeah.
between how they're sort of simulating crowd, and that's, I guess, and how you know it's not a real basketball game as well, because there's people at the basketball. But they're doing things like that one shot where it's like an above the game, and they've called like a timeout, or it's something's going on, but there's like people moving in. They've got like cheerleaders and mascots and people getting up from their seats and moving around, like players walking back to their benches, coaches walking around. Like, that stuff looks crazy good. And then you've got the ray tracing off the floor courts, and yeah, it's looking really good. Like, there was a comparison video going around yesterday between that and 2K21, just current gen, and like how different it looks, and yeah, it's staggering. Like, how much of it, like NBA 2K21 looks really good, full stop, and then this is like next gen looks even better. It's a bit of a leap. So I'm interested to see how it looks like, or how it plays in game, like how it runs and that sort of stuff. But in terms of like its visual fidelity, it looks very impressive so far.
Looks a little bit framey
Yeah.
when Curry was coming out of the tunnel,
Oh,
I thought. But maybe
Steph Curry or
Seth Curry. Who the fuck else? Yeah, of course it was Steph Curry. He was the one coming out of the tunnel.
no?
Who was coming out of the tunnel?
Luca, wasn't it Luca running out? And he's like,
Oh, it was Luca. Yeah, my bad.
he's pounding Mark Cuban. Is there for some reason?
Yes, my bad. I'm sorry. Oops.
Yeah, the bit that
Actually,
got me.
speaking of, why would you hype up a game with in 2020, right? Why would you hype up a game with a match between the Mavericks and the Warriors?
Because I think they're going for that. These are the next generation of superstars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking just stop goofing about NBA. Okay, just put LeBron in it. And just have LeBron in it for the next 20 fucking years, because we all know he's not going anywhere, right? He's invincible. Now I've said that, he's going to shatter his ankles in the next game. Like Saturday's match. Yeah. I've done it. I've screwed it.
Yeah. Good work. There goes the 3-1 lead. Next up, we got Rainbow Six Siege news. Tachanka is getting a rework, finally. They've released some gameplay video. Have you had a chance to check this out yet?
No, I haven't.
All right, so I can enlighten you. His LMG, which used to be stationary, so Tachanka would be a defensive unit where you would find a corner in a room, plop it down, and it was like a light machine gun that would shoot a lot of bullets very quickly. They've tried to fix him in some updates by giving him like a shield in front of him and some more defensive cover, but it hasn't worked. So this new update will be making him mobile. The LMG will now be something he can pick up and move around with. it's the same gun, from what they're saying. Does the same amount of damage on walls and that sort of thing. It does a lot of damage on walls, and then his secondary will be like basically like a grenade launcher that shoots fireballs and flames. So you'll be able to aerial denial people from coming in. He's currently got 5 of them. Feel like that'll be toned down a little bit.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Maybe it's sort of. I think the way they were sort of pointing it is like an alternative to smoke, because smoke has a bunch of gas grenades that he can throw out and area deny people. I guess we'll see, right? Maybe 5 is too many. Maybe he needs like 4 at this stage, but I don't know. I haven't played it. I don't know
how long does fire last for? Like,
I don't know.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So like one dude could, if you were able to lock down the other direction, one dude could hold an entire fucking side for how long? Like, let's say fire lasts for. Yeah, I'm watching it now. Like,
yeah,
it lasts a while. Like, yeah, that's like 30 seconds. That's a quarter of a fucking round.
Yeah,
that's insane.
They've they've changed him. I mean, I guess he's viable now. Like, definitely in terms of.
Oh, he's got the Zephyr withstand thing as well. He can get himself back up.
He can get himself back up if he finds himself trapped in his own fire. So if he hurts himself.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. I'm watching it without sound. So.
At least that's what I thought they meant. I haven't played Siege in a while, but that's what I sort of took away from this video. Is that if he hurts himself with his own fire, he can get himself back up? How does it normally work?
Right. Sophia gets herself back up
by damaging herself, or
no, just fucking gets back up.
Oh, maybe
Sophia's in the game. We fucking finished that crazy chick.
Okay, yeah, maybe he is. Maybe that's how it works. Anyway, good change. It's one that's been. I mean, I've talked to them about this a bunch, the developers, and they were still trying to think of ways to fix this, and this looks like a decent way to do that.
Yeah.
Cool. And the last story we've got is the OPL is shutting down, and this includes the League of Legends Australian office as well, as far as I'm aware. You might have more info. I only read a little bit into this last night.
Yeah. Riot in Australia is shutting down, and yeah, like so the OPL is shut and Riot Sydney is shut, and that's basically all there is to it. They're opening up the North American league, so that OCE players will be able to fill a slot on LCS rosters without taking up one of the import slots. So there's a chance that we might see either something like there are already a number of players over in NA for filling import slots, but we might see something alternative like a full OC roster or something. There's definitely a possibility for that sort of gimmick,
right?
Stuff. I think it has traditionally done quite well in Counter-Strike, like with 100 Thieves, formerly Renegades. That always seem to work pretty well in terms of like garnering support. Yeah. Otherwise, basically the League of Legends scene in Australia is going to have to sort of fend for itself, and this is pretty disappointing off the back of what was a really good run from Legacy in Worlds. I watched their games. I thought they played quite well. They were like constantly improving and like lifting to the challenge presented before them. They've always been sort of on the back foot. Riot has never really given any Australian teams any fucking hope. It's always been like it's crazy the way Riot treats smaller regions, OC in particular, considering the love OC has for League of Legends. They just don't get any fucking love out of Riot. There's all one way. It seems to me Riot doesn't give a fuck about Australia at all.
Yeah.
Pay lip service to Australia wherever they want, and they don't even. This will seem quite irrelevant, but they don't even know what fucking Australian animals are. Anyway, just shit, absolute garbage.
It's even. Sorry, go.
It's just got me fucking super annoyed. They cancelled Rift Rivals in this region without ever really giving it a fucking chance to succeed. They constantly dicked the OPL about and expected more and more, and you can see content wise that the OPL wound up informing, creating a lot of content that was just basically aped. Fucking right. I just distinctly remember being asked to do a content strategy meeting with them when I was esports editor at Red Bull, and they got me in a meeting, and they were like, "Oh, so what can we help you achieve at Red Bull? Because we really want to, do as much content as possible." And I'm like, "Well, these are the things I want to do." And then those motherfuckers went and did all of those things, and not only that, but they shut down those ideas. Shut down my ability to successfully do them, and then they went and did them themselves. So I've always been pretty fuck Riot for that one, but they just the way they treated players, the way they treated fucking organizations, and fuck Riot. I'm just so fucking done with Riot in general.
Yeah, to me it's a weird decision because they've obviously got the League of Legends to come off the back of, but they just launched a brand new game as well. And so they have Valorant to work off. And then they've got 2 more games coming out after that, right? They've got that fighting game that is in the works. And there's something else that they were working on at that stage. So it's not I don't know, it's just
a Legends Runeterra, the card game. They got the fighting game. They got the shooting game. And they got Teamfight Tactics as well as League of Legends.
Right. And at this stage, I don't know what they've obviously going to be hiring some sort of firm to do all that, but the PR side at least. But you've basically just killed the esports.
They don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah,
they're not going to hire a firm. They'll just let North America handle it. They already do it for fucking PR. If you want PR, you had to go through fucking North America. Fuck it.
Right.
And obviously it would be prioritized accordingly, aka ignored. So sure. It'll just go to that. Honestly, if you've got dreams of becoming a Valorant esports star, either move countries or start learning to play Counter-Strike again, because that game is
dead.
DOA.
In Australia at least.
They just fucking
and probably anything else they put out going forward.
Yeah.
All right.
I think fighting games will be fine. Fighting games are pretty used to
they run their
propping
own
themselves off.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, they run them. Yeah. They run themselves. There's enough organizations in Australia.
And I'm sure,
that.
I'm 100% certain there are passionate enough people who could put together enough Valorant tournaments and stuff. But the way that Riot keeps everything to their chest, they don't really allow third-party fucking organization, tournament organizers to do things and stuff. So
yeah.
And apparently I've heard anecdotally that they are a nightmare to work with outside of that anyway. So good luck, Valorant. Good luck. And fuck Riot. Fuck.
All right. That is the news. We got any questions? I think we did.
We do. Holy fuck. Is that? Yeah. So Joby wrote, I will re-answer next week, Frisco. My answer is, I do think you should buy a VR headset for Star Wars, with Star Wars Squadrons in the mix. But I think I already talked about that a little bit. I think it's fucking amazing. Dr. E3 Money writes, Do you each have a seminal moment in video game history, I suppose, that defines your love for the medium? By the way, this is long. This is long. Love you guys. With the release of Squadrons and its heavy lean on the history of X-Wing, TIE Fighter, and the rest of that wonderful series, I've been recalling the day I discovered X-Wing. My family did not at this time have a PC and was some 2 years from getting one. I'd been earning my video game chops on friends' PCs, friends' consoles, dad's work PCs. I remember when his office first got PCs, playing games in CGA 4-color graphics. I'd broken my teeth. I don't think you break your teeth. I've broken my teeth on time stolen on Commodore 64s and Amigas. I was already head over heels for video games. Had been ever since my neighbors got an Atari 2600 one Christmas, and the family went over to check it out, playing Asteroids and Missile Command for the first time when I was like 6 or 7. But I tell you what, nothing had got me as excited as the day my friend and I were out shopping at the ripe old age of 15 and stumbling across a purple box with X-Wing on the front. My mate Matt and I, all we ever did as kids was watch Star Wars movies and Superman movies and play video games. Seeing this box with promises of Star Wars space combat, multiple types of ship, it was seemingly in 3D when we were still playing Lakers versus Celtics and the NBA playoffs in CGI graphics. It had a picture of the motherfucking trench run on the back of the box. While we were having massive boners in the computer section, his dad comes over and buys it for my mate. Jizz alert. All right. Graphic. I spent months and months every time I was at my mate's house trying to see if we could sneak time on his dad's good computer, a 386, so we could play X-Wing. That game, 2 years later, when Dark Force came out, were everything to me. Nothing before it had put you so realistically into the Star Wars universe. I'm so dead set fucking jealous that I don't get to play this in VR. So, what is the video game that defines your love for the medium, Luke?
I don't know. You go first.
Me go first.
I don't know if there's a video game.
If I had to pick one, I do have similar memories, but I don't think anything like solidified it for me quite like because I basically went through the same thing as Drew. Didn't really have access to my own computer for ages. We did have a master system. We had a Commodore 64 with a broken tape drive. We had to type in the fucking games from a book, which utterly dissolves the mystery. Basic rather is pretty straightforward in how it works. So you fundamentally understand how a game works if you've already typed in the code for it. Yeah, nothing really solidified my love for the medium until Deus Ex, because before that, I think I loved the escapism of video games, but I never really conceived of the promise. I guess it was like when I read comic books before, I think it would have been Neil Gaiman's Sandman, because before Sandman, I loved comic books because they told interesting stories and they had good artwork, and it was sort of like, I could read without necessarily having to read, and I got to appreciate the art and all that kind of stuff. And they were about exciting characters like Batman and shit. And then I got Sandman, and that one sort of illuminated me to the promise of the medium itself. It sort of clarified the concept of the medium and allowed me to explore the idea more, and that's what Deus Ex did for me as well. Instead of just playing in a space, now the space sort of played back, and I think that's what made Deus Ex super special for me, and that's why I think if I had to pick one game, I would pick that one because it clarifies the concept of the medium of video game, or it clarified the concept of the medium of video games for me more than anything else. I think Deus Ex. Yeah.
I don't have a game. I think Drew said like a moment.
Yeah.
And that's fine, have a game. Because I can't think of like one game that is like, yeah, I can't think of just one game.
What about,
but I think for like a moment,
you grew up with like
grown up with
based on
games
my
my entire
understanding
life.
of your based on my understanding of your upbringing, you probably would have grown up like Drew's mate Matt, whose dad bought X-Wing.
Right, yeah, exactly. It wasn't like I was 15 and we got a PlayStation in the house and I was like, this is the one game I remember playing, like Crash Bandicoot or something. Like, all I can remember, I've grown up with games my entire life, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so I don't have that like specific game or anything that sort of triggered that love for it. So I think for me, it'd be like the moment, like for me getting to go to something like E3 for the first time.
Yeah.
Like having played games for like 20 something years and then getting to like read about that all this time and then getting to go there. I think you might have been at the first one I went to as well. I think it was 20.
I think that was my first one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting to go to a place like that and then just being in a room with Todd Howard talking about Skyrim and like that sort of thing is just something you just don't forget. Like being in a crazy place like that, like having written about, I hadn't been writing about games for that long. It'd be a couple of years at that stage, 3 or 4. But yeah, getting to go across there and having enough contacts where I'd spend 3 days running around, literally back-to-back meetings, seeing stuff that nobody has access to, in the back of a room somewhere was just mind-blowing to me. So I think, yeah, something like that. I mean, we've talked about a lot of those types of moments on here. Fucking meeting like Gabe Newell and things like that. That is something. You have those moments, going drinking with game developers and taking Suda 51 for shots and just bonkers stuff like that. This is dumb.
Oh, I know what it is, Luke. I know what it is. You won a competition to play UFC 2
That's what
early.
Was it 2 or the first one?
Was it 2? Yeah, 2 or 1? I don't know. And then you got roped into the dumbest podcast of all time.
Yeah,
good.
It was your fault.
Good answer.
Or was it Jay's?
All right. First of all, how dare you? Good question, Drew. It's fun to reminisce, and Squadrons definitely did that more for me than it did for Luke, it seems. It reminded me of what I loved about video games. Anyway, Fridge Monster Man writes, "Hi Joab, hi Luke. The thought occurs, maybe we've been overthinking this spaghetti Skittles thing. Maybe it's Skittles mixed into a tin of SPC spaghetti. I'd be fucking happy with that at this point."
What is he talking about? What's he talking about?
Get the fuck out of here. Also, ketchup and tomato sauce, are they the same thing or do they taste substantially different? Luke, you would have to answer this one. Does your organic fucking greengrocer sell ketchup or tomato sauce? And are they different?
They are different because back in Australia, tomato sauce is like something you put on your steak or like
the meat pie.
Yeah,
Did you say steak, motherfucker?
I was getting there. I was going to say steak, fries. Get you there.
Oh, you fucking better have been.
And or meat pie, sausage roll, right? That's tomato sauce, but here it's not. Tomato sauce is like literally fucking cans of crushed tomato. Yeah. So it is ketchup here. I guess it is back home as well. You can buy certain brands that'll say ketchup on it. So yes, it is different depending on where you are. Ketchup.
Ketchup.
It is different depending on where you are.
Like that scene where Mr. Burns is like ketchup, catsup, ketchup. That scene, honestly, I think it's played like he's losing his mind. But I'm on board. Actually, mostly everything that Mr. Burns does in that fucking episode, I'm on board with. He's riding on a bus. He's like, I'm riding on a bus. That's what I do every time I ride on a bus. I go, I'm riding on a bus. I don't say it to anyone because I'm not a fucking psychopath. But like, I do imagine that someone who heard me say it, right, would go, hey, aren't you that guy everyone hates? And yeah, I am. Anyway, good times. Dan Gaz writes, hi, Luke and Jackson. Do you think that one day Jack and Daxter will go their separate ways and start their own Pokemon-esque game series? I'm thinking Jack Sword and Daxter Shield would sell like hotcakes. Let me know if you have any more ideas on how to capitalize on this untapped market. Forever yours, Dong Ass. Yeah, no, this is a strong question. Love to get questions that take the Jack and Daxter series in specific directions. Pokemon, I think, might be their best bet finding their way back into relevance. Oh yeah, I went there. Sword and Shield though, like, can't we go back? Can't it be like Jack Red and Daxter Blue? Because Sword and Shield can suck my dong. I just fuck those games. But Red and Blue, back when the game wasn't holding your hand every single little step along the way, I think it'd be better. Why aren't there more games that have aped the Pokemon concept? Why is it not a genre? Like, how come we've got like 17 Battle Royale games and only like one game is trying to rip off Pokemon?
Temtem.
Yeah. What's the deal there? What's going on?
I don't know.
Answer me, Luke. That was a direct question. It's not rhetorical.
Much like Dan Gaz's question, I keep getting these questions about Jack and Daxter, and I've never played a Jack and Daxter game, so I just wing it. I think they need a gritty reboot, a dark and gritty reboot of Jack and Daxter.
It's coming out on PlayStation 5.
That's
Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter are the
same thing. If you showed me a picture of those two games, I probably couldn't tell you what's what.
I'd be like, Ratchet and Daxter. Raxter and Jank.
Yeah.
That's my boys, Jank and Crackster.
That's them.
That's them. Excellent. Good questions. I do think that Skittles mixed into a tin of SBC spaghetti would actually fulfill the terms of the bet.
Except, I don't think they do SPC spaghetti over here.
What?
Once again, organic food, Joab?
I would accept fucking, like, those fucking alpha fucking, those alphabet ones. Or dinosaurs.
No, they're disgusting.
You're worried about the flavor palette of the fucking Skittles spaghetti?
I'm not half-assing a Skittles spaghetti. I'm doing like a proper...
You're not any-assing the Skittles spaghetti.
I am. I'm trying to put together the best recipe to do this. Like I said, we're waiting for the investigation of the best recipe to come back, and once that's done, we'll get on board with it. Could be 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks? Unbelievable. Anyway.
That's a show.
All right. That is the show. Another fantastic effort. No idea how this one's going to sound because I added RTX voice again.
Oh, great.
So
I'm sure it's broken.
I'm sure. Yeah. I did some tests, but
did you yell into your microphone and then test it?
I did.
That's usually when you break it.
That is usually when I break it. That is true.
All right. You can find us on iTunes, Android, Windows Store, Spotify, YouTube, all those places you get your podcast from. Please rate and review the show. Helps other people find us. If you would like to send us questions, you can email us, thegapodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to our Discord page, thegapodcast.com/Discord. Leave a message like a bunch of those other fine listeners have done. Or you can jump into our chat pages and talk about all sorts of interesting things. I think there's been people complaining about Call of Duty on there recently, some Squadrons typing, and you can play games
I believe
late
they
at night.
currently talking about Baldur's Gate.
Oh, I did
Baldur's
not
Gate
buy
3
into this because
usage.
I heard some very rough things about it. I was going to pull the trigger, and then, as you do, because this is what we do, Joe, we write about video games. I went and read some previews, and they were not glowing. So I saved myself some money at this stage.
Right? Like,
They serve a
uh, yeah. It's just a weird release. Like, strategy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't read what there's a lot of chatter about this. I haven't gone through it because we've been doing a podcast, but yeah, I don't know. It seems weird to me.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us on social media, facebook.com/the GA podcast, twitter.com/the GA podcast. You can go to our YouTube page, watch the podcast in video form, thegapodcast.com/YouTube. That one will take you right there. You can go to our website as well, thegapodcast.com. It's got links to all those things we just talked about, including past episodes of the show. You can go read Joab's Star Wars Squadrons VR feature. I'll have to look at that one. Not that I haven't looked at it. I mean, I have to look at the fucking tag, apparently. I thought we had a feature tag in there, but I'll go fix that. Otherwise, you can go to go to that website, check out all those things, and that is all thanks to our Patreon members who support our show and the website. They keep things running. If you would like to do that, you can go to patreon.com/the GA podcast, become a recurring member at the low price of $1 a month, I think, up to $8. I can't remember.
$8. All right.
Yeah, that's the one where you have to buy people beer. So thank you to everyone that does that.
I like how you emphasize you, because you never have to do it, because nobody is in America hunting you down for a fucking beer. And it's just me. Although with the world in the current state that it is, nobody can hunt me down either. So if you ever do come by Akasha Brewing, you may run into me. I do
What have you done?
Too much time.
I know. So thank you to everyone that does that every month. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
You got anything you want to spruik out for this week you've been working on? Got some stuff going?
Theoretically, on OzGamers, my NBA 2K21 review. Theoretically. And yeah, check out the GA podcast for my write-up on Squadrons in VR. And yeah, you can look at my YouTube channel for some of that as well. Yeah, cool. That's about it. What about you?
Find me twitter.com/Luke Lawrie, Lawrie. And I think that is it for this week. We'll be back with more podcasts next week. Don't know what we're talking about, but I'm sure we've got a bunch of stuff, because usually it's like a 3-hour show right here. So we'll definitely be back here. See you then.